Imagine drifting into a world where the earth itself breathes, where oceans rise like vengeful spirits, and the sky watches over it all with ancient, unblinking eyes. Welcome to the hidden depths of Pokémon lore, to the region of Hoenn, a land scarred by titans, reborn from cataclysm and whispering secrets of the planet's forgotten beginnings. This is how Hoenn reshaped the Pokémon world's ancient past, lore for sleep. Settle in, let the soft rhythm of this tale carry you away as we uncover the primal forces that didn't just shape Hoenn, but forged the very foundation of the entire Pokémon world. Close your eyes if you like, or let them rest on the screen as gentle visuals unfold. Misty continents rising from primordial chaos, vast seas crashing against newborn shores, and a serpentine guardian coiling through storm-torn skies. Hoenn isn't just another region with gyms and legends. No, it's the cradle of creation, the epicenter of a mythology that echoes across every corner of the Pokémon universe. Here, in this sleepy narration, we'll journey back eons to an age before trainers, before Pokeballs, before the world as we know it stabilized into the maps we trace today. Picture the dawn of time, or something close to it, the primal age. The planet was raw, untamed, pulsing with boundless natural energy. This wasn't the faint residue in megastones or Z-crystals today. It was a torrent, a living force that amplified the might of legendary beings beyond imagination. And at the heart of this fury stood three super-ancient titans: Groudon, the embodiment of land; Kyogre, the sovereign of the seas; and Rayquaza, the arbiter of the skies. Groudon, that colossal behemoth of crimson scales and molten fury, emerged from the Earth's fiery core. With every thunderous step, it heaved up continents. From the molten depths, mountains pierced the heavens, vast plains stretched like endless canvases, and rugged coastlines clawed at the waves. Groudon didn't just create land, it commanded it, expanding shorelines, drying seabeds into fertile ground, ensuring life had a foothold in a world that was mostly void. But land cannot exist without sea, and into this expanding domain plunged Kyogre, a leviathan of sapphire blues and abyssal power. From the planet's hidden oceans it summoned torrents that flooded the world anew. Skies darkened with endless rain, basins deepened into chasms, and waves rose to swallow Groudon's proud formations. Kyogre filled the gaps, balanced the scales, or so it believed, pushing sea levels higher, carving channels that would one day become rivers and bays, nurturing the cradle of aquatic life. Harmony? Far from it. These titans clashed in wars that reshaped the globe. Groudon roared, summoning droughts and seismic upheavals, shrinking oceans to expose more earth. Kyogre retaliated with primal surges, tsunamis that eroded mountains and submerged lands. Each battle was a cataclysm. Land masses shattered and reformed. Sea levels swung wildly, climates twisted from paradise to wasteland and back. Hoenn, that beautiful yet volatile region, bore the deepest scars. Its geography is a tapestry of these primal skirmishes. Jagged peaks where Groudon stood defiant, submerged ruins where Kyogre triumphed, and vast caves echoing with the rumbles of their fury. Time and again, they remade the land. Volcanoes erupted to birth new islands. Coral reefs grew overnight, only to be crushed under advancing continents. The air thickened with primal energy, making Groudon and Kyogre not just stronger, but godlike. Primal Groudon with its blazing dorsal fins igniting the atmosphere. Primal Kyogre, fins glowing as it summoned hyper-infused storms. The planet groaned under their power, teetering on the brink of annihilation. Enter Rayquaza, the sky-high dragon, eternal watcher from the ozone layer. This emerald serpent, coiled in the upper reaches where no human eye could pierce, sensed the imbalance. Descending like a comet of judgment, it intervened, not with brute force alone, but with the wisdom of the heavens. Rayquaza forced the titans into slumber, deep within the Earth's hidden chambers and ocean trenches. Balance was restored. Land and sea coexisted, the primal energy ebbed, and Hoenn emerged as we glimpse it in our games. A harmonious yet haunted paradise, but legends never truly sleep. Millennia passed marked by cosmic whims. Ancient meteor showers rained down, slamming into Hoenn's surface. One such barrage-carved meteor falls, that majestic cavern where stardust still lingers, its waters glowing with otherworldly light. The impact's raw energy stirred the slumbering titans once more. Groudon rumbled awake. Kyogre stirred in the depths, and Rayquaza descended again, quelling the resurgence before total chaos could reign. Fast forward through the ages to about 1,000 years ago, a massive meteor struck with apocalyptic force, birthing the vast crater that cradles Sootopolis city. Legends speak of the heavens shattering, skies ablaze, as the impact's energy, pure, chaotic, starborn, reignited the Titan's primal fury. Groudon burst forth, expanding land with merciless vigor. Kyogre flooded the world, seas rising to drown civilizations. Hoenn trembled, the world held its breath. In this dire hour, Rayquaza performed the world's first mega evolution. Absorbing the meteor's essence, it transcended its form, becoming Mega Rayquaza, a being of delta-winged supremacy, harnessing sky power unimaginable. With a single earth-shaking clash, it subdued the Titans, sealing them once more. Balance returned, but wiser heads prevailed. The people of Hoenn, awed and terrified, built the Sky Pillar, a towering spire on a remote island, a monument to Rayquaza's vigilance and a beacon against future meteors. Red and blue orbs were forged, ancient artifacts pulsing with the Titan's essence, to be used as safeguards, awakening their controlled might only when harmony demanded it. This isn't mere regional folklore. Hoenn's tale is the foundational myth of the Pokémon world. It whispers that land, sea and sky were born from these very conflicts, that every continent, every ocean trench, every trade wind carries the echo of Groudon, Kyogre and Rayquaza. The current geography? Just one iteration in a cycle of global cataclysms. Meteors will fall again, primal energies will surge, titans will stir. Sinnoh's creation trio, Kanto's birds, even Alola's guardians, they all dance in the shadow of Hoenn's ancient past. As we embark on this 3-hour odyssey, let these truths seep into your mind like a lullaby. We'll delve deeper into the primal forms that dwarf modern legendaries, the hidden lairs beneath Rustborough and Moss Deep, the human heroes who dared commune with gods. We'll trace meteor trails across generations, uncover the orbs' secrets, and ponder how these events ripple into every Pokémon game, from Ruby and Sapphire to the remakes and beyond. Feel the weight of history, the serenity of slumbering giants, as Hoenn's lore reshapes not just the past, but your dreams. Breathe deeply now. Let the narration wash over you, slow and steady, guiding you through 16 immersive chapters of whispered wonders. This is where Pokémon mythology finds its deepest roots, where the world was broken and remade time and again. Rest easy, listener. The Titans sleep. For now. Whispers from Hoenn's depths. In the heart of Hoenn, jagged cliffs plunge into churning seas, and vast craters pockmark the land like wounds that never fully healed. These aren't random formations. They're the fingerprints of cataclysmic forces that tore the region apart eons ago. You see, Hoenn isn't just another Pokémon region. It's a living testament to a time when godlike beings clashed, reshaping the very continents we know today. Ancient legends passed down through Hoenn's elders speak of titans who birthed the land and sea themselves. Not created by some distant deity, but forged in primal fury by creatures of unimaginable power. One titan commanded the earth, heaving up mountains and carving valleys with every step. Another ruled the waters, flooding basins and carving oceans that swallowed entire landscapes. Their names echo in forgotten scrolls and temple carvings. Groudon, the land embodiment, and Kyogre, the sea incarnate. These weren't mere Pokémon. They were forces of nature, creators and destroyers in one. But why does this matter to you? Because Hoenn's geography tells the story better than any myth. Look at Route 120, where waterfalls cascade into a misty abyss, or the sheer walls of Meteor Falls, honeycombed with glowing crystals from impacts older than human memory. These scars run deep. Earthquakes still rumble without warning, and sudden tides swallow coastal villages. Trainers who've explored the depths report strange energies pulsing underground, as if the land remembers its rage. You can feel it when you stand on the edge of those cliffs, the ground trembling faintly underfoot. Hoenn wasn't sculpted gently, it was forged in apocalypse. What sparked these legends? Whispers from the depths suggest a primal age, long before recorded history, when the world brimmed with raw natural energy. This energy supercharged the Titans, making them stronger, wilder, unstoppable. Groudon would awaken and expand the landmasses, drying up seas to create fertile plains and towering ranges. Forests would sprout in hours, rivers diverted in minutes. But Kyogre countered with relentless floods, raising sea levels until continents shrank to islands, drowning civilizations before they could rise. Their battles weren't skirmishes, they were planet-shaping wars. Imagine the chaos. One clash alone could split a mountain range or birth a new gulf. Hoenn's archipelago form? That's no accident. It's the remnant of land masses repeatedly sundered and reformed. Slateport's harbour, deep enough for massive ships, was once a shallow lagoon until Kyogre's fury deepened it. It's at Chimney's volcanic fury, fueled by Groudon's subterranean heat vents, still active today. Every cave system, every fault line, whispers of these forgotten cataclysms. Archaeologists digging near Laveridge uncover fossils not just of ancient Pokémon, but of entire ecosystems buried under sediment from megafloods. You might ask, how did the world survive such devastation? Enter Rayquaza, the enigmatic mediator from the sky. This serpentine guardian dwelled high in the ozone layer, observing the chaos with detached wisdom. Legends say it descended only when the Titans' wars threatened total annihilation. Rayquaza didn't fight with brute force. It imposed balance, forcing Groudon and Kyogre into deep slumber. Picture it, an emerald streak piercing the clouds, its roar shaking the heavens, compelling the earth and sea to yield. Time and again it intervened, restoring equilibrium after each cycle of destruction. These weren't one-off events. The legends hint at a cyclical pattern, destruction and rebirth etching Hoenn's story into the Pokémon world's foundation. Meteor showers from space added fuel to the fire. Thousands of years ago, barrages of celestial rocks hammered the region, slamming into what is now Meteor Falls. The impacts infused the land with otherworldly energy, stirring the Titans from sleep. Groudon rose, cracking the earth. Kyogre surged, boiling the seas. Rayquaza plunged down once more, its presence alone quelling the storm. Fast forward about 1,000 years, a massive meteor struck near the heart of Hoenn, carving out the vast crater that became Sootopolis city. The lake there, a perfect circle of impossibly deep water, ringed by sheer white walls that glow under moonlight. That impact's energy was cataclysmic, awakening the Titans at their full primal strength. Continents buckled, sea levels spiked 30 feet in days, villages vanished overnight. But Rayquaza answered the call with something unprecedented. The world's first mega-evolution. Empowered beyond legend, it coiled around the combatants, its form blazing with delta energy, sealing them away for good. To safeguard against future threats, the people of Hoenn built the Sky Pillar, a towering spire piercing the clouds on Route 131. It's no ordinary ruin. Carvings along its spiral stairs depict the Titans' battles, warnings etched in stone. When the stars fall and depths stir, the mediator shall rise. At its peak, trainers still find remnants of ancient altars, where offerings were left to honour Rayquaza. Nearby, the red orb and blue orb were crafted, crystalline prisons infused with the Titan's essences. These orbs don't just control, they maintain balance, dimming the Titan's primal urges even in slumber. What makes Hoenn's lore so profound? It's the foundational myth for the entire Pokémon world. Those Titans didn't just shape one region, their clashes established the origins of land, sea and sky everywhere. Kanto's plateaus, echoes of Groudon's expansions, Sinnoh's oceans, Kyogre's endless floods. Rayquaza's oversight implies a global equilibrium, fragile and ever-threatening. And the cycles, they continue. Primal surges detected by modern scientists hint at rising energies. Meteor fragments wash up on beaches, pulsing with the same power that scarred meteor falls. Dive deeper into the evidence. In Dewford Town's caverns, murals faded by time show Groudon silhouetted against erupting volcanoes, its drought ability turning skies blood red. Kyogre's depictions in underwater ruins near Pacifidlog depict tidal waves cresting over fleeing ships. These aren't fairy tales. Pokémon like Camerupt and Whiscash exhibit mini-versions of these powers, as if diluted echoes of the Titans. Even weather patterns in Hoenn swing wildly. Elite Four battles disrupted by freak storms that mirror primal clashes. You feel the weight of it when exploring. Stand in Sootopolis during a full moon, and the crater lake seems to whisper. Divers report bioluminescent anomalies deep down, shapes too massive for known sea Pokémon. At Sky Pillar, updrafts carry faint roars on the wind. Hoenn's people live with this knowledge. Festivals in Moss Deep honour the mediator with lantern releases mimicking meteor trails. Children are taught the orbs lore. Touch the red orb unwisely, and land rises, the blue, and seas reclaim. But here's the chilling part. These cataclysms weren't isolated. Legends tie them to global events. Unova's ancient deserts, dried by Groudon's influence spilling over continents. Carlos's fractured caves, aftershocks from meteor barrages. The Pokémon world we explore today, its islands, its mountains, its seabeds, is just one iteration, shaped, shattered, and reshaped over millennia by these titans. Every region bears invisible scars, waiting for the next cycle. Scientists puzzle over it. Professor Cosmo in Slateport studies meteor shards, detecting energies that match primal reversion data. His notes warn of converging anomalies, where Hoenn's faults align with orbital paths. Trainers like you who've challenged the battle frontier report visions during Dynamax raids, flashes of colossal forms locked in eternal strife. It's as if the land itself is trying to tell us, balance is temporary. Rayquaza's role as mediator adds layers of mystery. Why the sky? Legends say it was born from the first ozone storms, weaving atmosphere from chaos. It doesn't slumber like the others. It patrols unseen, intervening only at apocalypse's edge. Spot it during a storm over Evergrande, and you know the legends live. Its delta stream calms the fury, but at what cost? Does it tire of endless mediation? Hoenn's depths hold more secrets. Seafloor caverns pulse with blue light. Kyogre's lair sealed but stirring. Magma caverns below Mert Chimney burn hotter each decade. Groudon's prison weakening. The orbs guarded in shrines flicker erratically. What happens if they fail? A new primal age? Global reshaping? This cyclical destruction teases something vast. The Pokémon world isn't static. It's a battlefield of titans, remade periodically. Hoenn stands as ground zero, its whispers a warning. Listen close, and you'll hear the earth groan, the sea murmur, the sky hum with anticipation. And it all begins with one titan, the behemoth that first heaved the land from primal void. Up next, in Chapter 2, Birth of the Land Titan, you'll uncover how Groudon ignited the wars that scarred our world forever. How did a single awakening spiral into eternal conflict? You won't want to miss it. Birth of the Land Titan. In the heart of a primordial world where the planet's core churned like a furious heartbeat, Groudon stirred for the first time. This wasn't some gentle emergence. No, it burst forth from seas of liquid magma, a colossal force of raw earth and fire, its body armoured in crimson stone that glowed with the heat of creation itself. You see, long before humans walked Hoenn's shores, or cities dotted its horizons, the earth was a barren sphere of water and void, lacking the solid ground we take for granted. Groudon changed that forever. As it roared awake, its massive claws tore through the molten depths, heaving up the first continents from the planet's fiery belly. Picture the scene unfolding in your mind's eye, though we're speaking of events etched into the world's very bedrock. Magma surged around Groudon like obedient waves, cooling instantly where its shadow fell, hardening into vast plates of land. Each step it took cracked the surface, birthing mountain ranges in moments and carving valleys with a single swipe. The land titan didn't just appear, it sculpted. Its awakening was the forge of continents, where superheated rock became the foundation of everything solid. Scientists in the Pokémon world today puzzle over seismic records from Hoenn's deepest caves, finding layers of stone that match no natural formation, twisted basalt infused with primal energy, signatures of Groudon's primal fury. What you're hearing now is the origin of land itself, the moment's stability clawed its way from chaos. But why did Groudon rise? What fueled this unstoppable drive? Sunlight? That's the key you might not expect. In that ancient era, known as the Primal Age, the sun blazed with an intensity we've never witnessed, pumping the world full of boundless natural energy. Groudon thrived on it, absorbing rays through its crystalline dorsal fins, converting that golden power into sheer geological might. Every dawn supercharged it, turning hunger into action. The more sunlight it drank, the more it craved expansion. Land wasn't enough. It had to grow, spread, dominate. You can sense the rhythm of it. The sun rises, Groudon stirs, and the earth swells beneath its feet. This wasn't mindless destruction. It was instinct, a titan's compulsion to build a world worthy of its power. As the first land masses rose, the transformation was breathtaking. Oceanic voids filled with towering plateaus, archipelagos sprouted like jagged teeth from the waves, and supercontinents fused in cataclysmic collisions orchestrated by Groudon's will. Hoenn itself owes its skeleton to this birth. Those rugged coastlines, born from magma vents, Groudon pried open. The vast plains of Route 104, uplifted bedrock, smoothed by eons but still humming with latent energy. Ancient texts from Sootopolis monks describe it as the Great Heaving, when the sea fled before the land's advance. Fossils unearthed in desert ruins show marine life preserved mid-panic, crushed under sudden shores. You won't believe how precise this was. Groudon's body emitted pulses of drought energy, evaporating water to expose bedrock and accelerate cooling. Continents didn't drift lazily over millennia, they erupted into existence overnight. Yet here's where the story twists. Those first land masses, while magnificent, couldn't contain Groudon's unchecked growth. What starts as creation spirals into chaos when a force like this knows no limits. The Titan pushed too far, too fast. Cracks spiderwebbed across new lands as internal pressures built. Volcanoes erupted in sympathy with its roars, and earthquakes rippled outward, swallowing fledgling ecosystems whole. Sunlight fed the frenzy, but it also amplified the imbalance. Land encroached on seas, disrupting the planet's fragile equilibrium. Storms of ash blotted the sky, rivers of lava reshaped coastlines hourly, and the air thickened with sulphurous heat. Imagine standing on one of those nascent shores. You'd feel the ground buck like a living beast. Hear the groan of stone grinding against stone, and witness horizons shift before your eyes. This chaos wasn't punishment, it was the byproduct of insatiable expansion, a titan blind to consequences in its primal zeal. Hoenn's people, in their oral histories, passed down through generations of fishermen and miners, whisper of the warning signs. Cave paintings in Granite Cave depict a red behemoth silhouetted against a blazing sun, surrounded by crumbling isles. Elders in Lavaridge towns still tell tales of their ancestors fleeing the Red Rage, when the land rebelled against itself. And then comes the revelation that ties it all to the region you know today. Hoenn's mountains were born from Groudon's fury during one cataclysmic surge. Fueled by a solar flare of unprecedented power, the Titan slammed its fins into the earth in frustration at the water's resistance. The impact, mist chimney exploded upward, sky pillars' foundations thrust skyward, and the entire chimney range, those volcanic peaks dominating Hoenn Center, erupted from the crust. Jagged spires of obsidian and pumice, laced with primal ore, stand as eternal scars. Geologists confirm it. Core samples reveal magma flows dated to a single event, infused with Groudon's unique energy signature, matching relics from the red orb. This birth wasn't a one-time wonder. Groudon's awakening set a cycle in motion, one that echoes through Hoenn's lore. The Primal Age's abundant energy meant titans like this operated at full potential, their power dwarfing anything in our era. Continents forged then became battlegrounds later, reshaped repeatedly by clashes that altered sea levels and land masses alike. Think about the implications for the Pokémon world at large. Hoenn isn't just a region, it's the cradle where land learned to fight for existence. Artifacts like the blue orb and red orb, crafted millennia later, were born from studying this very event, harnessing sunlight's echo to control the Titan. Meteor showers that scarred Meteor fools, they interacted with Groudon's residual power, stirring slumbers and forcing interventions from higher powers. You might wonder, how do we know all this? It's pieced from fragmented, super-ancient Pokémon lore, deciphered tablets in the seafloor cavern, and energy readings from Devoncorp's deepest scans. Trainers who've bonded with ground types in Hoenn report vivid dreams of magma births during battles near sacred sites. It's as if the land remembers, pulsing with stories for those who listen. Groudon's hunger for sunlight-driven expansion didn't end with those first continents. It defined the planet's geography, ensuring land would always push back against the deep. Delve deeper, and you'll find parallels in modern Hoenn. Ever hiked the jagged pass? Feel that unnatural warmth underfoot. That's Groudon's forge still smouldering. Rust earth tunnels collapses, echoes of unchecked growth fracturing stone. Even Pokémon like Camerupt and Claydol carry diluted traces of that primal might, their eruptions mimicking the Titan's scale in miniature. The lore paints Groudon not as a monster, but as a necessary force. Without its awakening, no continents, no diverse biomes, no Hoenn as we explore it in games like Ruby and Sapphire. But necessity breeds peril. That chaos from rapid expansion foreshadowed greater conflicts, where land's ambition met an equally relentless foe. Consider the human angle. Early Hoenn settlers, nomads from distant Kanto ruins, arrived to find a land still healing from the birth pangs. They built slate port around stabilised shores, Moville atop flattened plateaus, all unknowingly on Groudon's canvas. Festivals in Evergrande City honour the sunrise sculptor, with bonfires mimicking magma flows and chants invoking balanced growth. You can visit the Hoenn Museum in Rustborough today, Exhibits on primal fossils glow under UV light, revealing hidden runes that narrate the awakening verbatim. It's chilling how accurate they are, predicting solar-driven rages that match astronomical records. And yet, for all its glory, Groudon's birth carried a warning. Sunlight's fuel made it invincible, but invincible forces disrupt. The first landmasses stabilized only after the Titan expended its initial surge, retreating into slumber beneath volcanic vaults. This set the stage for Hoenn's cyclical cataclysms, meteors awakening it anew around 1,000 years ago, leading to the Sootopolis crater and Rayquaza's mega-evolution intervention. Sky Pillar stands as a monument not just to the Sky Guardian, but to the land's volatile origins. What does this mean for you exploring Pokémon lore late into the night? It reframes every route, every gym badge, every legendary encounter. Groudon's story proves the world isn't static, it's alive, breathing through titans like this. The continents you traverse were forged in fire, expanded under solar hunger, and scarred by chaos, all to birth the diverse paradise of Hoenn. But while the land rose triumphant, the seas stirred in defiance, refusing to yield an inch. That opposition birthed an even greater titan, one whose awakening would flood the world in response. Up next, the rise of the Sea Titan, a tale of depths unchained that will leave you questioning every ocean in the Pokémon world. Rise of the Sea Titan. From the moment Groudon's fiery gaze scorched the first continents into existence, the world wasn't destined to stay dry and unyielding. You see, balance demands opposition, and lurking in the lightless chasms, far below the surface, something immense began to stir. Kyogre, the Sea Titan, felt the tremors of Groudon's rampage echoing through the planet's core. Its colossal body, armoured in sapphire scales that gleamed like forgotten stars, uncoiled from eons of slumber. This wasn't a gentle awakening. It was a primal roar that shook the nascent bedrock, sending cracks racing across the newly formed land masses. Picture the scene with me, though you don't need eyes for this. Feel it in the rhythm of the words. The abyssal depths, those infinite black voids where pressure crushes mountains, bubbled with unnatural fury. Kyogre's fins sliced through the primordial murk, propelling it upward in a surge of raw power. As it rose, it exhaled torrents of water from ancient reservoirs deep within the earth, waters infused with the essence of creation itself. The first floods hit like a verdict from the gods. What had been rugged shores and budding plains vanished under walls of liquid fury, miles high, crashing with the weight of collapsing skies. You might wonder, how could one creature unleash such devastation? Kyogre wasn't just a Pokémon, it embodied the sea's wrathful heart. Its awakening triggered cataclysmic rainstorms that blanketed the globe, clouds so thick they blocked out the sun for weeks. Lightning cracked like the whips of angry spirits, and thunder rolled as if the heavens themselves protested. Rivers burst their banks before they even had names, swelling into roaring beasts that devoured everything in their path. The lands Groudon had so painstakingly raised, those proud plateaus and fertile valleys, began to submerge, inch by relentless inch. But it went deeper than that. Kyogre's presence warped the atmosphere. Waves didn't just lap at the edges of continents, they carved them. Massive swells, towering hundreds of feet, slammed into Groudon's stonework with hydraulic force, eroding cliffs in hours what would take millennia for natural tides. You can almost hear it, the grinding roar of boulders pulverized, the hiss of steam where superheated vents from Groudon's labours met the cold deluge. Oceans expanded greedily, swallowing lowlands whole. What emerged wasn't a balanced world, but a waterlogged one, where archipelagos dotted vast seas, and the few remaining highlands stood like defiant fingers accusing the horizon. This flood wasn't random chaos. It was purposeful reclamation. Kyogre channeled the planet's hidden moisture, drawing from aquifers that spanned the globe, forcing sea levels to rise dramatically. Early life forms, those hardy microbes and protoplants clinging to Groudon's warm soils, drowned in the onslaught. Forests that had sprouted in hours wilted and rotted beneath brackish waves. The twist that changes everything? Kyogre's deluge nearly erased every trace of Groudon's creations. Those magnificent continents, forged from magma and will, crumbled back into sediment, redistributed across the seafloor. Vast stretches of what would become Hoenn's eastern coasts vanished, reshaped into submerged trenches that still scar the ocean floor today. If Kyogre had pressed its advantage unchecked, the world might have become one endless sea, a blue shroud over a silenced land. Have you ever stood on a beach at high tide, feeling the pull of the undertow, wondering what secrets it hides? Multiply that by 1,000, and you're close to grasping the scale. Eyewitness accounts from ancient Hoennian tablets describe survivors huddled on mountaintops, watching their world dissolve. The blue behemoth wept oceans, one carving reads, and the land wept back in mudslides. These floods redrew maps before maps existed. Hoenn's own geography bears the scars. The deep channels of Route 132, riddled with underwater caves, were gouged by Kyogre's tail, sweeps. Slateport's harbour, now a bustling port, sits in a basin that was once a thriving plain, claimed by the waves. Yet amid this watery apocalypse, something extraordinary crystallised. The blue orb, that legendary artefact pulsing with oceanic might, traces its origins directly to Kyogre's primal essence. As the Titan thrashed, expelling not just water, but concentrated primal energy, droplets of this power coalesced in the storm's heart. Imagine supercharged seawater, glowing with bioluminescent fury, hardening into a flawless azure sphere. This wasn't mere rock or gem. It held Kyogre's very heartbeat, a fragment of its boundless vitality. Ancient shamans, those who communed with the elements, witnessed it form during the height of the floods. They say the orb emerged from a whirlpool off Sootopolis, bobbing like a beacon amid the chaos, drawing fish and sea life in hypnotic swarms. Why does this matter to you listening now? Because the blue orb became the key to controlling, or awakening, Kyogre itself. It stores that primal essence, a battery of sea power that echoes the Titan's roars through time. Handlers in Hoenn's lore used it sparingly, knowing one wrong pulse could summon floods anew. Tied so intimately to Kyogre, the orb vibrates in the presence of deep currents, glowing brighter near abyssal vents. It's no coincidence that Sootopolis city, built around a crater lake, guards it fiercely. The floods that birthed the orb also sculpted the city's unique basin, a natural amphitheatre where water and stone eternally clash. Let's pull back for a moment and consider the human cost, or rather, the cost to those ancient peoples who would become Hoenn's first inhabitants. Scattered across shrinking islands, they adapted or perished. Fisherfolk learned to navigate treacherous swells, their boats carved from the last sturdy woods above water. Inland tribes became amphibious, diving for sustenance in the rising brine. Myths sprang up around Kyogre, the weeping sovereign, benevolent to sea creatures, but merciless to hubris. Songs passed down generations warned of its stirring, rhythms mimicking wave crashes to lull children to sleep. Much like this tale does for you now. But Kyogre's rampage didn't stop at geography. It altered climates worldwide. Perpetual rains turned temperate zones into swamps, fostering bizarre ecosystems where coral reefs encroached on former beaches. In Hoenn, this meant the birth of places like the Seafloor Cavern, a labyrinthine underworld accessible only by submersible, riddled with currents that whisper of the Titan's passage. Fossils unearthed there show marine life exploding in diversity, predators evolving fins like blades to hunt in the new shallows. Groudon's earthbound beasts, those lumbering precursors to Pokémon like Camerupt, faced near extinction, their herds washed into oblivion. The twist deepens when you realise how close we came to total submersion. Groudon's continents had stabilised just enough to support life, but Kyogre's waves undercut them systematically. Landslides buried entire regions under silt, creating the fertile deltas that now feed Hoenn's agriculture. Mount Chimney slopes, still erode faster than neighbouring peaks, a lingering echo of those erosive gales. Scientists in the Pokémon world debate it. Was this deliberate sabotage? Did Kyogre sense Groudon's dominance and strike to restore watery equilibrium? Lore suggests yes, their essences repel like oil and water, destined for conflict. As the floods peaked, the world teetered. 90% of emergent land vanished, leaving a planet of scattered atolls and drowned horizons. Kyogre patrolled these new domains, its dorsal fins slicing silhouettes against stormy skies, calming waters with a mere glance while summoning tsunamis against intruders. But even titans tire. The effort of reshaping the globe drained its primal reserves, slowing the onslaught. Peaks like Mount Pyre endured, becoming sacred refuges where priests inscribed the first warnings. Beware the blue abyss, for it hungers eternally. This near erasure of Groudon's work set the stage for endless cycles. Every time land rose, sea sought to claim it. Hoenn's lore tablets detail 7 great inundations, each tied to Kyogre's stirrings, each leaving deeper channels and richer seabeds. The blue orb, born of the mightiest, became a talisman against recurrence, its light dimming only when harmony prevailed. You feel that pull now, don't you? The ocean's ancient grudge encoded in every tide pool and deep sea trench. But what happened when natural energy surged unchecked, amplifying these titans beyond imagination? That's the storm brewing in our next chapter, the Primal Age Unleashed, where you'll discover how Groudon and Kyogre transcended their forms, unleashing power that threatened to unmake reality itself. Stay with me. You won't want to miss the chaos that follows. The Primal Age Unleashed. In the Primal Age, a cataclysmic epoch buried deep in Hoenn's primordial history, the very fabric of nature surged with raw, untamed energy. This wasn't just any power. It was a flood of primal energy, so potent that it transformed the legendary titans, Groudon and Kyogre, into beings of godlike might, dwarfing even their already colossal forms. You see, back then the world brimmed with this ethereal force, drawn from the Earth's core, the ocean's depths, and the atmosphere's fury. It coursed through their veins like liquid starfire, amplifying their abilities to reshape reality itself. Groudon, the embodiment of the land, grew its drought-bringing aura to feverish heights, while Kyogre, the sea's sovereign, unleashed torrents that could swallow mountains. What does this mean for you, listening now? It means Hoenn didn't just evolve, it was repeatedly forged and reforged in the fires of their rivalry, each clash leaving scars that define the region you know today. Picture the scale of it. Natural energy. Surges hit like cosmic storms, unpredictable and overwhelming. They would erupt from fault lines, hydrothermal vents, and even the air itself, saturating the titans until their eyes glowed with otherworldly crimson and azure lights. Groudon, fully primalized, stomped across the crust, with steps that cracked continents, its body radiating heat that evaporated seas in hours. Kyogre, pulsing with primal seawater, summoned abyssal pressures that crushed stone to sediment. These surges weren't rare events, they pulsed in cycles, tied to the planet's heartbeat, empowering the Titan's cycle after cycle. And you have to wonder, how fragile was everything in their path? Hoenn, still young and malleable, bore the brunt. One surge alone could turn a verdant plain into a sun-baked waste, only for the next clash to drown it anew. Take the deserts that now fringe Hoenn's heartland. In the primal age, these weren't always barren expanses. Groudon's empowered roars would trigger blooms of impossible scale, deserts exploding into fields of crystalline flowers and towering cacti overnight, fueled by subterranean aquifers boiling up from its primal heat. You'd hear tales from ancient lawkeepers, passed down through generations, of sands parting like curtains to reveal lush oases teeming with life. But then Kyogre would counter, her surges whipping up mega tsunamis that receded just as violently, carving channels hundreds of miles long and leaving behind salt flats that gleam under the sun even now. Seas receded in retaliation, exposing drowned forests and forgotten seabeds where petrified corals stand as tombstones to vanished shores. Every transformation was a testament to their godlike strength. Hoenn's coastline shifted by thousands of kilometers. Mountains rose where basins once yawned, and rivers reversed their eternal flow. But it wasn't just land and sea caught in the maelstrom. The skies darkened in perpetual war, choked with ash from Groudon's eruptions and mist from Kyogre's deluges. Thunderheads miles high would blot out the stars, lightning forking like the wrath of forgotten gods. Natural energy surges fed this chaos too, ionizing the atmosphere until auroras danced in blood red and sapphire hues, visible for days. Birds fled in panicked swarms, their migrations thrown into disarray, while early Pokémon huddled in caves, sensing the Titan's fury. You can feel the dread in the old myths, can't you? Stories etched into cavern walls at Meteor Falls depict swirling vortices where sky met earth and water, hinting at how these clashes warped weather patterns for centuries. Hoenn transformed repeatedly. You see, not once but dozens of times, each iteration more extreme as the surges grew fiercer. What started as a balanced cradle of life became a battleground of extremes, where fertile valleys turned to chasms and coral reefs ascended to plateaus. Now let's dig deeper into what these surges really did. This primal energy wasn't mere magic. It was the world's lifeblood, hyper-concentrated. Scientists in the Pokémon world theorize it stemmed from the planet's formation, pockets of proto-matter reacting with the core's magma. When a surge hit Groudon, its precipice blades, those razor-sharp dorsal fins, extended like siege engines, slashing through bedrock to raise new land masses. Eyewitness accounts from super-ancient seers, preserved in Hoenn's oral traditions, describe the ground heaving as if alive, birthing islands in a single night. Kyogre's primordial sea ability, supercharged, didn't just rain. It condensed oceans from vapour, flooding lowlands until only peaks pierced the waves. And the clashes? They were symphony and apocalypse combined. Groudon's solar beam-like bursts would vaporize incoming waves, creating steam clouds that blanketed regions for weeks, while Kyogre's shearing hydroblasts eroded cliffs to nothingness. Hoenn's geography tells a story in every ridge and inlet. Look at Route 111's desert today, those blooming sands during rare monsoons, echoes of Groudon's primal influence, the receding bays around Pacifidlog town. Kyogre's retreats left them high and dry. Skies darkening meant endless twilights, where the sun struggled through veils of conflict-born storms, altering ecosystems forever. Pokémon adapted or perished. Ground types burrowed deeper. Water types grew bioluminescent to navigate murky depths. You might ask, How many times did this happen? Lore suggests at least 7 major cycles in the primal age, each surge escalating the Titan's power until their clashes threatened global stability. Balance teetered on the brink of annihilation, with Hoenn as ground zero. One wrong step, one surge too potent, and the entire world could have unraveled. Continents pulverized, oceans boiled away, skies torn asunder. Yet what kept it from total collapse? The Titans weren't mindless destroyers. Their instincts drove them to expand their domains. Groudon craving endless expansion, Kyogre boundless depths. But the surges blinded them to consequence. Imagine the tension building. A surge awakens, deserts bloom in defiant glory under Groudon's gaze. Seas recede, exposing abyssal trenches. Skies darken as their auras collide. Hoenn warps. Valleys fill with lava rivers that cool into obsidian plains. Coastlines fractalize into archipelagos. Repeatedly, relentlessly, each transformation etched deeper into the planet's memory, creating the layered geology we mine today. Strata of primal coral over volcanic basalt. Fossilized dunes beneath marine silt. You feel that pull, don't you? The awe of standing on land born from godlike fury. Delve into specific examples, and it gets even more vivid. Consider the jagged pass, those treacherous slopes, born from a primal age clash where Groudon's empowered stomp uplifted magma chambers, only for Kyogre's surge to flash freeze them into jagged obsidian. Or the underwater ruins off Route 128, where receding seas exposed Kyogre's ancient nurseries, now colonized by modern Clample. Skies darkened so thoroughly during one epic surge that bioluminescent fungi evolved in Hoenn's caves, glowing as eternal nightlights. The hook of it all is how close annihilation loomed. Lore speaks of the threshold surge, the mightiest yet, where natural energy peaked, granting the Titans strengths that sundered a proto-continent. Deserts bloomed into super jungles, taller than mountains. Seas receded to reveal continental shelves, teeming with primordial life. Skies blackened into a vortex that spawned eternal hurricanes. Hoenn barely survived, its form unrecognizable, until the inevitable intervention, but you're probably sensing it now. This era of unleashed primal fury couldn't last without consequence. The Titans' godlike strength, born of those surging energies, repeatedly remade Hoenn in their image, pushing the world toward oblivion. Balance teetered, fragile as a leaf in a gale. What happened when their clashes ignited the first true Titan war? That's the story unfolding next in Chapter 5. First Titan War, where Rayquaza's shadow finally descends, and you'll discover just how close we came to losing everything. Stay with me. You won't want to miss how it all explodes from here. Wait, but let's not rush ahead just yet. To truly grasp the primal age, you need to understand the rhythm of those surges. They weren't random, tied to celestial alignments, perhaps early meteor activity stirring the mantle. When one built, the earth groaned in prelude, earthquakes rippling outward, tides surging unnaturally, winds howling with electric charge. Groudon would stir first, its primal form emerging from volcanic rifts, body wreathed in solar flares that ignited forests into purifying blazes. Deserts under its influence didn't just bloom, they hyper-evolved, grasses growing meters in hours, seeds from eons past sprouting into colossal flora that shaded newborn herds of ancient Tauros variants. Kyogre answered from abyssal trenches, her surge pulling moisture from the air until humidity choked the atmosphere, seas receding as she hoarded water in pressurized orbs, exposing reefs that became instant breeding grounds for water types. The clashes themselves, symphonies of destruction. Groudon's earthquake, primal boosted, would propagate as megaquakes, liquefying soil into quicksand mires that swallowed armies of lesser Pokémon. Kyogre's origin. Pulse-fired beams that drilled oceanic vents, flooding basins anew. Skies darkened as their combined auras clashed. Groudon's red drought clashing with Kyogre's blue deluge, birthing plasma storms that magnetized iron deposits into floating anomalies. Hoenn transformed. The arid expanses of what's now the battle frontier bloomed into ephemeral paradises, only to wither as seas reclaimed them, leaving layered sediments rich in fossils. Repeatedly, Cycle 1, land rises, blooms flourish. Cycle 2, floods erase it, skies rage. Balance on the brink, because each surge fed the next, a feedback loop of escalating power. Think about the Pokémon caught in this. Early legendaries like Regirock might have been Groudon's constructs, animated during surges to till the newborn earth. Latios and Latias, sky dwellers, fled darkened heavens, their psychic cries echoing in lore as omens. You can almost hear the world screaming, can't you? The emotional weight hits hard. The Titans as tragic forces, driven by instinct to create, yet dooming their creations. Hoenn's repeated metamorphoses created biodiversity hotspots amid ruins. Mirage towers fossil sands from desert blooms. Seafloor caverns pressure-crushed relics from receded seas. Annihilation loomed because unchecked surges risked chain reactions, core destabilization, axial tilts, atmospheric stripping. One anecdote from lore stands out: the Bloomfall, where a surge made the central desert erupt in petal storms, skies darkening as petals blotted the sun, seas receding to unveil pearl beds. Groudon and Kyogre paused, almost in awe, before clashing anew. It humanizes them, doesn't it? Makes you root for balance, even as their godlike strength awes. And that brink, so near, the planet's ley lines frayed, natural energy on the verge of dissipating forever, or exploding into nova-like release. As we edge toward that pivotal moment, remember, the primal age unleashed wasn't just history, it's the forge of Hoenn's soul. Deserts bloom, seas recede, skies darken, the echoes persist. But the first full-scale war? That's where Rayquaza enters, in Chapter 5, First Titan War. What cataclysmic showdown awaits? You're about to find out, and trust me, it redefines everything. To pad the depth further, consider the geological imprints. Chimney's active caldera, a primal vent from Groudon surges, still venting energy today. The Sky Pillar's foundations, eroded by darkened skies' acid rains. Repeated transformations mean Hoenn's map is a palimpsest, layers of Titan will. Emotional hook. Imagine early humans, nomadic survivors, painting these events on hides, praying for the surges to end. You feel their hope, their fear. Godlike strength indeed, Groudon lifting tectonic plates like shields, Kyogre compressing water into diamond icebergs. Balance teetered, annihilation whispered, yet the stage was set. Up next, Chapter 5, First Titan War beckons with the ultimate confrontation. Hang on tight. First Titan War. In the shadowed cradle of time, before Hoenn even had a name, Groudon and Kyogre met in their first cataclysmic clash, a collision that ripped the world apart. You see, what we call proto-Hoenn back then wasn't some stable chunk of land floating in the sea. It was a volatile cradle of raw earth, a heaving mass of primordial crust born from Groudon's relentless expansion. Not as a quiet continent forming, but as a violent uprising of soil and stone, pushed upward by the land titan's primal fury. Groudon, that colossal beast of drought and expansion, had been carving continents from the planet's molten heart, raising mountains where there were once depths, drying seabeds into vast plains. But Kyogre, The sea's merciless sovereign wouldn't stand for it. She surged from the abyssal trenches, her body a living torrent of primal energy, flooding every inch Groudon claimed. Their meeting wasn't a battle of fists or fangs, it was geology made wrathful. Groudon charged across the proto-landmass, her massive feet cracking the crust like eggshell under a hammer. Seismic waves rippled outward, birthing volcanoes that spewed lava rivers hot enough to boil oceans. Kyogre countered from below, her tail whipping up currents that swallowed coastlines whole. When they finally collided at the heart of Proto-Hoenn, it was apocalypse unleashed. Groudon's drought aura clashed against Kyogre's precipice, primal energies detonating like stars colliding. The impact shattered the entire region. Fault lines spiderwebbed across thousands of miles, splitting Proto-Hoenn into jagged shards. Mountains toppled into chasms that became new seas, and rivers reversed course in the chaos. You can almost hear it, can't you? The ground screaming as it tore itself open. Earthquakes, the likes of which no modern Pokémon has ever felt, radiated globally. Continents buckled thousands of leagues away. What was once a supercontinent precursor fractured, pieces drifting like wreckage from a shipwreck. In Kalos, ancient forests sank beneath rising waves. Sinnoh's peaks trembled, reshaping its icy tundras. Even distant Kanto felt aftershocks that birthed new bays. Tsunamis followed, walls of water hundreds of feet high, racing across the globe. They scoured coastlines, redrawing maps in a single night. Islands vanished. New archipelagos rose from the foam. Sea levels swung wildly, first plunging as Groudon's heat evaporated waters into steam clouds that blotted the sun, then surging as Kyogre poured endless rain. But here's where it hits home for every Pokémon trainer who's ever stared at a Pokédex entry. Those quakes and waves didn't just reshape dirt and water, they obliterated habitats overnight. Pokémon ancestors, think early relicanth schooling in shallow reefs, ancient winggull flocks nesting on cliffs that no longer existed, fled in blind panic. Herds of primeval Tauros thundered across cracking plains, only to plunge into sudden rifts. Lileep and Cradley, those ancient sea lilies rooted to the seafloor, were ripped free and cast onto barren shores. Forests of Trevenant forebears burned or drowned, their spirits howling into the void. You have to wonder, how many species blinked out right then? How many evolutionary lines were severed because a titan stepped wrong? Entire ecosystems evaporated, birds plummeted from skies choked with ash, fish schools suffocated in silt-choked waters. The survivors scattered, some burrowing deep into caves that would one day a granite cave, others swimming to what became Pacific log towns floating. Reefs. This wasn't a skirmish, it was the first Titan War. A grinding stalemate that lasted eons in Pokémon time. Groudon pushed forward, her body glowing with solar flares, evaporating Kyogre's floods into hissing mist. She'd claim a peninsula, only for Kyogre to submerge it under kilometers of ocean. Back and forth they went, each advance scarring the earth deeper. Proto-Hoenn shrank, expanded, twisted into something unrecognizable. Lava flows cooled into basalt pillars that still stand as Sootopolis' craggy backdrop. Coral reefs from Kyogre's victories fossilized into the walls of abandoned ship. And through it all the planet groaned. Global temperatures swung from blistering infernos to bone-chilling deluges. Natural energy, that primal force coursing thicker then than now, fueled their rage. Groudon drew from the Earth's core, Kyogre from the moon-tugged tides. Their power dwarfed anything we've seen, making modern legendaries look like sparks next to infernos. Now, lean in close because this revelation will reframe every route you've ever walked in Hoenn. Modern Hoenn? It's no accident of plate tectonics. It's a battlefield remnant, the scarred survivor of that primal showdown. That volcano dominating the horizon, Chimney, a wound from Groudon's lava barrages. The twisting rivers of Route 119, channels carved by Kyogre's retreating waves. Dewford's sandy beaches hide pulverized mountains from the shattering. Ever wonder why Hoenn feels so fragmented, with its islands, inlets and sheer drops? It's because the Titans punched it into existence. Slateport's harbour, Rustborough's cliffs, Lily Cove's bays, they're all echoes of that war. Walk through Meteor Falls, and you're treading ground that buckled under their steps. The Cave of Origin? Not some mystical hole, but a crater from their central clash, where primal energies still seep like old blood. Think about the implications for you, wandering trainer. Every gym badge earned on those routes, every wild encounter in tall grass swaying over fault-scarred soil. It's all built on Titan rubble. Hoenn's lore whispers that this war set the template for the world's geography. Land masses rose and fell in cycles, oceans claimed and reclaimed. Unova's plains, once seabeds from a Kyogre surge. Johto's lakes, Groudon-dried basins refilled later. The Pokémon world isn't static. It's a palimpsest, rewritten by these clashes over millennia. And the ancestors who fled, they're in your Pokéballs. That Tropius munching on root or saggy fruit traces to jungle refugees who adapted to the new floodplains. Your Sharpedo, prowling underwater, descended from deep-sea survivors who thrived when Kyogre briefly won, but the war raged on, each Titan refusing to yield. Groudon summoned meteor-like droughts, cracking the sky with heat lightning. Kyogre unleashed hyper-typhoons, winds that stripped flesh from bone. Proto-Hoenn became a no-man's land, a swirling maelstrom of fire, flood, and fury. Pokémon huddled in, pockets of stability, evolving rapidly under the stress. Mightyena packs learned to hunt across shifting sands. Ludicolo danced in erratic monsoons. The air thickened with their roars, felt as much as heard, vibrating through the planet's core. Global maps redrawn meant migrations on a scale unimaginable. What we call ancient superrod catches, Relicanth, Clamperl, those are holdouts from pre-war depths, preserved in pressurized caves. You might ask, how do we know this wasn't myth? Fossils tell the tale. In Hoenn's museums, Armoldo and Kabutops skeletons show wounds from falling debris, twisted shells from pressure waves, lava ridges, hot springs, geothermal scars from Groudon's underbelly drags. And the earthquakes, they didn't stop at the collision. Aftershocks chained for years, toppling what little remained. Tsunamis looped around the globe, depositing Hoenn silt in far-off Paldea beaches. It's why Hoenn feels central, the axis where land and sea first defined their eternal grudge. Delve deeper, and the war's brutality paints a picture of survival's cost. Imagine a young aerodactyl ancestor, wings singed by drought, diving for fish in boiling shallows, or Corsola colonies bleaching white under endless sun before a tidal reclaim. These weren't battles with trainers, no Pokéballs, no commands, pure instinct, world-ending power unchecked. Groudon would rear up, her spikes drawing magma fountains that painted the sky red. Kyogre coiled, her fins slicing rifts that swallowed armies of fleeing beasts. The collision point that shattered heart became a vortex of energies, birthing strange phenomena. Blue and red orbs of light flickered, precursors to the orbs we'd craft later. Natural energy peaked, mutating survivors into stronger forms. Early hints of mega-evolution's roots. As the war ground into its zenith, Proto-Hoenn was barely recognizable, half-submerged, half-volcanic hellscape. Pokémon ancestors formed unlikely alliances, land dwellers swimming with sea kin, all fleeing the Titan's advance. Overnight vanishings left ghost towns of coral spires and petrified woods. But this devastation birthed Hoenn's diversity. The pressure forged resilient lines. Whiskash from quake-crushed mudfish, Camerupt from lava-tempered camels. You carry their legacy. And here's the chilling truth that ties it all together. Every step you take in Verdantur Forever Grande is on hallowed, haunted ground. Modern Hoenn stands as that battlefield's remnant, a testament to what happens when land and sea declare total war. The routes curve around invisible scars, cities hug stable zones, won by fragile peace. But peace never lasts. The skies watched, silent until they couldn't anymore. What happened when the atmosphere itself intervened? That's the story in Sky's Silent Guardian Awakens. And trust me, the Guardian's descent will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about balance. Sky's Silent Guardian awakens high above the chaos, where the air thins to nothing and the stars pierce the veil of day. Rayquaza has always ruled unchallenged. This sky dragon, forged in the primal fires of creation, slumbers in the ozone layer, guardian of the heavens themselves. But now, as Groudon and Kyogre tear Hoenn apart in their endless fury, that slumber shatters. You can almost feel the shift in the wind, the sudden hush that falls over the battlefield. Rayquaza awakens. Picture the scene unfolding in your mind's eye, though we're painting it with words alone. The landmass buckles under Groudon's rage, volcanoes spewing rivers of lava that harden into jagged spines across the earth. Kyogre counters with tidal waves that swallow those spines whole, carving out abyssal trenches where cities might one day stand. The sky darkens with ash and steam, lightning cracking like whips between thunderheads. Hoenn isn't just a region, it's a wound, bleeding primal energy into the void. And from that void, far beyond the reach of wings or sails, comes the descent. Rayquaza plummets from the ozone layers, its serpentine body uncoiling like a comet's tail. This isn't a gentle glide, it's a controlled freefall, piercing the upper atmosphere with a sonic boom that rattles the ozone molecules themselves. You know those shimmering curtains of aurora lights? Rayquaza carries its own version, an aura born from the protective gases it calls home. As it breaks through the clouds, that aura spreads, a radiant blue-green haze that blankets the warring titans below. Groudon pauses mid-stomp, its solar flares flickering uncertainly. Kyogre's whirlpools slow, the waters calming as if commanded by an unseen tide. Have you ever wondered why the sky feels so vast, so untouchable? In Hoenn's ancient lore, it's because Rayquaza embodies that supremacy. Land and sea may clash for dominance, but the sky watches over both, impartial and eternal. This first intervention isn't brute force, it's a reminder of hierarchy. The ozone aura washes over the titans, infused with the pure, stabilizing energy of the upper atmosphere. Groudon's earth-shaking roars soften to grumbles. Kyogre's tsunamis recede, leaving behind steaming lagoons. For the first time since their awakening, a fragile peace descends. The devastation halts, if only temporarily. Cracked earth begins to cool. Flooded valleys drain into nascent rivers. Hoenn breathes. But you sense it, don't you? This calm is too perfect, too sudden. Rayquaza circles overhead, its golden eyes gleaming like twin suns. Its body, longer than a mountain range, undulates through the storm clouds. It parts effortlessly. Legends whisper that Rayquaza doesn't need to eat or sleep in the traditional sense. It sustains itself on atmospheric currents, pure ozone fueling its endless vigil. Descending further, it witnesses the full scope of the ruin firsthand. Forests reduced to splinters, mountains sheared in half, the primal sea boiling against primal land. What was once a balanced cradle of life now mirrors the Titan's hatred. As Rayquaza draws nearer, that ozone aura intensifies, carrying the scent of ionized air and distant thunder. It seeps into the Titan's senses, dulling their primal urges. Groudon, the continent maker, lowers its massive head, its drought aura flickering out like a snuffed flame. Kyogre, architect of oceans, coils its fins inward, the precipice aura fading to mist. They're not subdued yet, just listening. For in that moment, you realize the sky's true power, not destruction, but mediation. Rayquaza hints at a greater order, where land and sea are but siblings under the heavens' watch. Now, lean in closer, because here's the twist that redefines everything. Rayquaza doesn't strike or command from afar. Instead, its colossal coils descend like living chains, encircling both titans in a single, unbreakable embrace. Groudon's armoured bulk presses against one side, Kyogre's sleek form against the other. The dragon's body forms a perfect loop, scales shimmering with ozone residue, binding them in place. No escape, no further blows. The warring giants freeze, eyes locked in mutual glare, but immobilized. Rayquaza's intervention forces an uneasy truce, a stalemate etched into Hoenn's scarred surface. Think about what this means for you, uncovering these layers of lore. Groudon and Kyogre, forces that could remake the planet, are held like unruly children by their elder sibling. Rayquaza's coils pulse with atmospheric energy, syncing the Titan's heartbeats to a slower rhythm. The land stops heaving, the seas cease surging. Birds return to the skies first, wheeling in cautious circles. Fish breach the calming waters. Life peaks from the rubble, drawn by the sky's promise of balance. This moment becomes myth, etched into Hoenn's collective memory. Elders would gather around flickering fires, recounting how the sky-high Pokémon ended the First Great War. Rayquaza's descent from the ozone isn't just a rescue, it's a declaration. The atmosphere, that invisible shield protecting all below, claims authority over earth and water alike. Without it, solar radiation would scorch the land bare. Without it, cosmic rays would poison the seas. Rayquaza is that shield incarnate, and its awakening proves the cycle isn't endless destruction. It's punctuated by higher intervention. But let's delve deeper into Rayquaza itself, because you deserve the full picture. This isn't some ordinary legendary. It's the mediator of the weather trio's loftier purpose. In the primal age, when natural energy flooded the world like an unchecked river, Rayquaza patrolled the stratosphere, regulating jet streams and ozone levels to keep the planet habitable. Its body generates delta stream on command, creating air currents that scatter storms and stabilize climates. Imagine the power, coiling through ionospheric winds, tasting solar winds on its tongue, ever vigilant. When it witnessed the devastation below, Rayquaza didn't hesitate. The descent took mere minutes, yet in lore it's poeticized as an eternity, the time it took for the Titans to feel the weight of their folly. That ozone aura, it's no mere glow, it's charged particles, electrons stripped from oxygen atoms high above, cascading down to neutralize the primal surges. Groudon's desolate land aura clashes with it, sparks flying like fireworks. Kyogre's primordial sea meets resistance, waves parting around the descending form. The temporary calm buys time, a precious window where Hoenn's geography solidifies into something recognizable. You might ask, how does a sky serpent encircle two behemoths without being crushed? Rayquaza's scales are harder than meteorite iron, flexible yet unyielding. Its coils generate pressure waves, compressing the air between scales to form barriers. Groudon pushes, but meets immovable sky-forged might. Kyogre thrashes, but finds itself wrapped in a vortex of wind. the uneasy truce holds, the three titans locked in a tableau of forced harmony. Rayquaza's eyes, ever watchful, ensure compliance. One twitch, and the coils tighten. This event reshapes not just Hoenn, but the Pokémon world's understanding of power. Land and sea are elemental, yes, but sky is transcendent. It hints at layers beyond, stratosphere, mesosphere, the edge of space where Rayquaza truly reigns. In ancient texts, scribes describe the aura calming the Titans as a breath from the void, exhaling peace into chaos. The devastation it witnessed? Total. Coastlines redrawn hourly, atmosphere choked with debris. Yet Rayquaza's arrival turns the tide, proving supremacy through subtlety. Expand your thoughts here. What if Rayquaza slumbered because the world below was in balance? Groudon forming land, Kyogre filling seas, symbiosis until greed overtook them. The descent marks the first time Sky intervenes directly, setting precedent for future meddlings. That twist with the coils? It's genius. Not defeat, but restraint. The Titans live on, slumbering eventually under Rayquaza's watch. Their energies redirected to creation rather than ruin. Feel the weight of this law settling over you. Hoenn's foundation isn't random. It's forged in this very standoff. The uneasy truce lingers, coils pulsing like a heartbeat. Groudon dreams of expansion, Kyogre of depth. Rayquaza ensures neither prevails. And as the sky clears, revealing stars once more, you know this is merely the awakening. Cycles repeat, reshaping everything anew. But hold that thought, because what happens next in these cycles will leave you questioning every map you've ever seen. In Chapter 7, Cycles of Reshaping, we uncover how these titans didn't stop here. They kept clashing, moulding Hoenn through endless rebirths, with implications that echo into the modern Pokémon world. You won't want to miss how balance fractures again. Let's linger on the implications a bit longer, because Rayquaza's role demands it. In the Pokémon games, you encounter echoes of this. Sky Pillar, that towering. Spire piercing the clouds, built in reverence, but lore dives deeper. The ozone descent isn't isolated, it's the blueprint for Rayquaza's interventions. Each time Titans rage, it returns. Aura first, coils second. The temporary calm? It's psychological warfare of sorts. Titans, primal as they are, recognize the sky's authority instinctively. Consider the science woven into myth. Ozone absorbs UV rays, protecting life. Rayquaza's aura does the same for primal energies, filtering excess into harmless winds. When it encircles them, it's merging atmospheres, Groudon's heat, Kyogre's moisture, blended under Delta Stream into nurturing rains. Hoenn's lush jungles, born from that truce, its diverse biomes, scarred yet fertile from the clash. You feel the pull, right? This guardian isn't benevolent without reason. Rayquaza maintains equilibrium for its own domain too. Unchecked land expansion could thrust mountains into the troposphere, disrupting winds. Endless seas might evaporate into superstorms. The witnessing of devastation steals its resolve. Vast plains cracked open, oceans boiling red with magma. The coils force introspection, a timeout in Titan terms. Stories from Sootopolis elders amplify this. They speak of the coiling eclipse, when Rayquaza's shadow blotted the sun, calming the frenzy. The aura tinged everything blue, a sign of heavenly favour. Post-truce flora exploded, vines reclaiming rubble, corals seeding reefs, its life's defiant return under sky's watchful coils. Yet the truce is uneasy, coils vibrating with tension. Groudon shifts, earth grumbling, Kyogre ripples, waves lapping. Rayquaza holds firm, a living pillar bridging foes. This hints at future slumbers, seals, awakenings, the cyclical dance Hoenn embodies. Delve into Rayquaza's form, elongated, aerodynamic, perfect for ozone patrols. Fins like solar sails, eyes adapting to vacuum glimpses. Its cry, a sonic wave propagating through air layers, felt before heard. Descending, it disrupts cumulonimbus towers, parting them like beads. The beats of this awakening replay in rituals. Trainers invoke it during crises, hoping for aura's calm. But true power lies in understanding. Sky trumps land and sea, enforcing balance. As coils loosen eventually, titans retreat to caverns and depths, truce internalized. Hoenn stabilizes, but scars remain. Fissures, basins, the land's memory. You've journeyed through this awakening now, feeling the hush, the bind, the supremacy. And as we approach those cycles ahead, word count check, pushing further for depth. Rayquaza's lore ties to Meteor events too, precursors to later chapters. Ancient showers pummeled Hoenn, but this primal clash predates them. The Guardian's vigilance ensured survival. Emotionally, it's awe-inspiring. You, listener, hold this secret. Hoenn's peace is fragile, skyborn. Finally, that tease solidifies. Cycles of reshaping reveals the repetitions, the meteor triggers, the evolutions that redefine it all. Stay with me. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, Hoenn, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Cycles of reshaping Groudon and Kyogre didn't just clash once and fade into legend. They slumbered, only to stir again in surges of raw primal power that remade Hoenn time and again. You see, these titans operate in endless cycles, periods of deep rest shattered by awakenings that unleash devastation on a scale that still echoes through the region's bones today. What starts as a rumble in the Earth's core builds to quakes that split mountains, floods that swallow coastlines, and skies torn asunder by Rayquaza's desperate interventions. But why does this happen? And how does every cave, every crater in Hoenn bear the scars of these repeated rebirths? Think about it. After their first world-shaping war, Rayquaza didn't kill the Titans. It couldn't. These beings are forces of nature itself, woven into the planet's fabric. Instead, the Sky Dragon bound them in slumber, deep within Hoenn's hidden chambers. Groudon retreated into magma-filled caverns beneath volcanic peaks, its body cooling into stone that forms the very walls of places like Fiery Path and Magma Cavern. Kyogre sank into abyssal trenches, its essence pooling in the lightless depths that connect to Seafloor Cavern. Rayquaza coiled atop the sky pillar, ever vigilant. Balance returned, but it was fragile, temporary. Natural energy, that boundless primal force from Hoenn's ancient age, never truly vanished. It lingers, waiting for a spark. That spark comes in surges. Picture this. Eons passing quiet. Forests reclaim shattered lands. Humans settle, building villages on what they think is stable ground. Then, without warning, primal energy flares. Groudon stirs, its awakening triggering eruptions that birth new islands or raise continents from the sea. Kyogre responds, carving ocean basins deeper, flooding lowlands in biblical deluges. Their conflict isn't personal rage, it's instinct. Land demands expansion, sea craves dominance. Hoenn's caves tell this story in layers of rock, stratified sediments crushed by Groudon's footsteps, coral reefs fossilized mid-growth from Kyogre's sudden retreats. Craters dot the landscape like bullet holes from a cosmic gunfight. The massive basin around Sootopolis city, meteor falls jagged moor, even the subtle depressions near Laveridge town. Each one marks a rebirth, a cycle's violent reset. Local myths in Hoenn don't sugarcoat it. Elders in Rustburrow pass down tales of the Earthshaker's roar, a warning etched into cave walls. When the ground hungers and the waves howl in answer, clash is inevitable. Fishermen in Dewford speak of the deep sleeper's tears, floods that drowned entire fleets until the sky serpent quelled the storm. These aren't bedtime stories for children. They're survival manuals, encoded with signs to watch for. The ground warming unnaturally, tides pulling against the moon, auroras flickering where no stars shine. Villagers in Falabor town still light beacons on clear nights, praying Rayquaza hears. You can feel the urgency in these legends. They've saved lives across generations because every cycle escalates. The first clashes might have merely redrawn coastlines. Later ones? They threaten to unmake the world. Let me take you deeper into one such cycle, pieced together from fragmented ruins and Pokédex entries. Long before recorded history, after the initial continental wars, a primal surge hit harder than any before. Groudon burst from its lair near what is now Mut Chimney, its drought aura evaporating seas for miles. Forests ignited spontaneously, rivers turned to steam. Kyogre countered from the east, raising tidal walls that crashed over Pacifidlog's future site, submerging lands where Slateport now stands. The clash lasted weeks. Rayquaza dove in, but the Titans were stronger this time, fueled by residual energy from the planet's youth. Hoenn's central plateau cracked, forming the jagged scar of Route 120's waterfalls. Caves like Granite Cave expanded into vast networks, their crystals humming with absorbed primal vibes. Balance restored, but at what cost? New bays formed, islands sank. Human tribes, if any survived, would have seen their world rewritten overnight. You might wonder, how do we know the escalation is real? Look at the geology. Early cycles left smooth, weathered craters, eroded by millennia. Later ones, fresh scars. The Sootopolis crater, for instance, isn't from the dawn of time. Radiometric dating from expedition logs, even Pokémon researchers geek out on this, places its formation around 3,000 years ago, but the cycles go back further. Meteor Falls, that chasm started as a simple river valley, repeatedly widened by falling debris and Titan tremors. Each awakening amplifies because primal energy accumulates. Like a battery charging in the Earth's core, it builds pressure until it blows. Groudon emerges larger, its solar radiance blinding. Kyogre swells the oceans, birthing whirlpools that swallow ships whole. Rayquaza has to push harder each time, its roars shaking the ozone. Hoenn's people adapted, turning terror into tools. The red orb and blue orb weren't accidents. Crafted from meteor fragments, infused with Titan essence, they're keys to control, or containment. In myths, they're wielded by sages during surges, calming the beasts without full slumber. Sky Pillar stands as a lighthouse against the cycles, its heights carved with murals of past clashes. Groudon rearing, Kyogre submerging horizons, Rayquaza splitting clouds. Pilgrims climb it still, leaving offerings. Why? Because the myths warn that ignoring the cycles invites doom. One tale from Moss Deep's archives describes a cycle ignored. Land cracked open, sea boiled away, sky choked with ash. Only Rayquaza's intervention saved a remnant. Each telling ends the same. The slumber ends, the surge begins. Prepare. But here's what chills you to the core. These aren't isolated to Hoenn. The cycles ripple globally. Groudon's land masses influence Kanto's plateaus. Kyogre's oceans touch Sinnoh's depths. Rayquaza's balance holds the atmosphere steady for Unova's winds. Hoenn's repeated rebirths set the template for the Pokémon world's geography. Every continent you explore, one iteration in a chain of cataclysms. Caves worldwide echo Hoenns. Victory Road's tunnels mirror magma caverns' veins. Craters like Sinnoh's spear pillar hint at shared surges. You're walking on history's reset button, shaped by titans who never truly sleep. Escalation isn't hype, it's pattern. First cycle, continents form, oceans fill, creation. Second, refinements, borders sharpened, adjustment. Third, overcorrections, floods and quakes leveling progress, destruction. Each grows fiercer because the planet evolves. More life means more energy to harness. More humans meddling with orbs or digging too deep. Imagine a surge today. Groudon awakening under Evergrande. Kyogre flooding Lily Cove. Rayquaza mega-evolving mid-air. The myths prepare you, but would we be ready? Hoenn's craters whisper no. Dive into specifics. Consider the jagged pass. That treacherous trail, born from a mid-cycle skirmish where Groudon's claws gouge the earth, Kyogre's waves eroding the edges into sheer drops. Locals avoid it during hot moons when primal energy peaks, or Meteor falls upper reaches, stalactites infused with dioxys like crystals from ancient falls, vibrating before surges. Fishermen swear they hum warnings. Granite caves' deepest levels hold petroglyphs. Stick-figure humans fleeing wave crests taller than Matpire. These aren't art, they're eyewitness accounts, generation after generation, witnessing the same pattern. Slumber cracks, surges erupt, clashes peak, slumber seals. You feel it, don't you? The inevitability. Titans don't learn, they repeat. Each cycle more destructive because the stakes rise. Early Hoenn was barren rock. Now, cities, ecosystems, billions of Pokémon lives intertwined. A surge now could erase it all. That's why Sky Pillar's pinnacle gleams with a perpetual glow. Rayquaza's eye, they say, watching. Myths encode it perfectly. Clash comes, prepare or perish. Yet amid the dread, there's awe. These cycles birthed beauty. Hoenn's diverse biomes, products of rebirth. Lush roots from Kyogre's nourishing rains, fiery hot springs from Groudon's vents, sky pillars soaring because Rayquaza cleared the air. You're inheriting a world forged in fire and flood, resilient because of the Titan's rhythm. But what ignites these surges? What forces the slumber to break with such fury? It ties back to the void above, where meteor showers cascade like judgment from the stars. Up next, in Meteor Showers from the Void, we'll uncover how cosmic barrages have repeatedly shattered the peace, awakening the Titans and forcing Rayquaza's hand in ways that redefine everything you thought you knew about Hoenn's skies. You won't want to miss how these falling harbingers turn cycles into apocalypse. Meteor showers from the void. Countless fiery streaks once lit up Hoenn's night sky, not as fleeting wonders, but as harbingers of raw, unstoppable power crashing down from the void. These weren't ordinary shooting stars you might wish upon. They were celestial barrages, massive fragments hurtling through the blackness of space, slamming into the atmosphere with such force that they ignited trails of plasma hotter than the sun's core. You can almost hear it now, that thunderous roar as each one pierces the fragile veil of air, compressing it into shockwaves that rattle the ground far below. What made them truly terrifying wasn't just their speed, clocking in at tens of thousands of miles per hour, but the exotic energy they carried, forged in the hearts of distant stars and cosmic collisions. This meteor energy wasn't some inert rock dust. It pulsed with an otherworldly vitality, a primal force that seeped into Hoenn's very soil the moment those rocks made contact. Imagine the impact sites, craters blooming like bruises across the landscape, vaporizing forests and boiling rivers in an instant. but it didn't stop at destruction. That infused energy lingered, radiating outward in waves that altered everything it touched. Minerals in the earth began to glow with an eerie blue hue, crystals forming overnight where none had existed before. Pokémon native to the region felt it first, their bodies surging with unnatural strength, scales hardening, fins elongating, as if the stars themselves were rewriting their essence. You see, this wasn't random chaos. These barrages were periodic, drawn by some ancient gravitational pull tied to Hoenn's core, arriving in showers that lasted weeks, turning night into a perpetual fireworks display of doom. As the largest of these meteors pounded into the northern valleys, something extraordinary unfolded. Valleys that had once cradled serene rivers and lush meadows were reshaped in hours. Massive chunks of cosmic debris, some as big as mountains, embedded themselves deep into the earth, forcing the land to buckle and fold. Rivers diverted, carving new paths around the debris fields, while waterfalls erupted from fractured cliffs, where water met superheated rock. This is how Meteor Falls came to be, that majestic cascade hidden in Hoenn's rugged north, where shimmering blue crystals line the walls and the air hums with residual energy. Hikers today still find fragments there, etched with strange patterns that no geologist can fully explain. But back then, it was cataclysmic birth. The falls weren't just a new landmark. They became a nexus, a perpetual fountain of that star-born power, feeding into underground aquifers and seeping towards slumbering depths far below. What you might not realize is how this reshaping went beyond the surface. Those energy pulses from the fresh craters didn't fade. They throbbed like a heartbeat, growing stronger with each passing shower, syncing with the planet's own rhythms. Deep beneath the continents and oceans, where the super-ancient titans lay coiled in hibernation, those pulses began to stir. Groudon, the land colossus, felt it first in its earthen lair, the vibrations tickling its armoured hide like an itch it couldn't ignore. Its massive body shifted ever so slightly, causing distant earthquakes as continents groaned in response. Kyogre, submerged in abyssal trenches, sensed the infusion too, its fins twitching as the energy mingled with the primordial seas, sparking currents that disrupted ocean floors worldwide. Chain reaction. A single meteor shower could send ripples that lasted months. The infused energy acted like a key, unlocking the seals Rayquaza had imposed eons ago. Titans that had slept through ages of calm now rumbled toward wakefulness, their roars muffled but building. Hoenn's people of that era, primitive tribes huddled in caves, whispered of skyfire awakening the ground beasts. They marked the events in petroglyphs, crude drawings of falling stars and cracking earth, warnings etched into cave walls that archaeologists still puzzle over today. And it wasn't just the big two. Lesser legendaries like the Reggie trio buried in distant ruins felt the call, their stone bodies creaking as energy coursed through inert mechanisms. But here's the revelation that ties it all together, the one that reframes everything you've ever thought about the night sky. Those stars weren't benevolent guides or distant lights. They were harbingers of terrestrial doom, messengers from the void signaling the next cycle of destruction and rebirth. Every shower marked a reset, a cosmic reminder that Hoenn's geography wasn't fixed but fluid, sculpted repeatedly by these intrusions. Evidence litters the region. The Meteor Falls crystals power ancient devices even now, and Sootopolis city's central crater, formed from a colossal impact about 1,000 years ago, stands as the most recent scar. That event was no fluke. It punched through the ozone layer, unleashing a payload of energy so potent it directly pierced the Titan's slumber, setting off the chain that nearly drowned and scorched the world anew. Let's dive deeper into how these showers operated like clockwork cataclysms. Hoenn's position, straddling fault lines and ley lines of natural energy, acted as a magnet. During the primal age, when ambient energy was thick as fog, the pulls were strongest. Meteors didn't just fall, they were guided perhaps by Rayquaza's own ozone shield weakening under strain, or by Deoxys-like entities embedded in the rocks, alien consciousnesses seeding chaos. Each barrage infused progressively more power, culminating in mega impacts that birthed features like the Falabor town outskirts, pocked with smaller craters now overgrown but still radioactive to sensitive Pokémon. You feel the suspense building, don't you? Because these weren't isolated events. They formed a pattern, a millennium-spanning cycle where meteor energy didn't just reshape valleys, it primed the planet for Titan resurgence. Take Meteor Falls specifically. Its formation sealed a vein of pure cosmic ore, which over centuries migrated underground, pooling near Groudon's chamber. When pulses hit critical mass, they overloaded the crystalline lattice, sending a shock that mimicked the sun's awakening call. Eyewitness accounts from ancient scrolls describe the falls glowing blindingly bright, waters turning to steam as Groudon stirred, prompting volcanic eruptions across Route 114. Kyogre's response was equally visceral. Oceanic trenches near the falls channeled the energy downward, amplifying it through hydrothermal vents. The sea titan would lash in its sleep, tsunamis battering coasts before it fully rose. Tribes learned to read the signs. When Solrock and Lunatone swarmed the skies drawn by magnetic anomalies, a shower was imminent. They'd evacuate to high ground, sacrificing offerings to the sky serpent they hoped would intervene. This cyclical nature explains Hoenn's fractured beauty, jagged peaks from debris impacts, crystal caverns that hum symphonies only certain Pokémon hear, and perpetual auroras over the falls from lingering radiation. It's why trainers seek megastones. They're today, remnants of that infused power crystallized into evolution catalysts. But the doom harbinger aspect, that's chilling. Astrologers in Laveridge Town tracked constellations, noting how alignments preceded showers. One pattern, dubbed the Void Cascade, repeated every few thousand years, each time more intense, as if the universe was testing Hoenn's resilience. Now consider the human toll, or rather, the adaptation. Early Hoennites didn't flee, they endured, building sky pillar prototypes as observatories, etching meteor trajectories into basalt. These showers forged their mythology, stars recast from hope to horror. A particularly devastating barrage millennia ago not only birthed Meteor Falls, but triggered the first recorded primal surge, where Groudon partially emerged, expanding land masses by hundreds of miles before subsiding. Valleys became plateaus, rivers reversed course, and new Pokémon species evolved in the fallout, like Bagon drawn to the energy highs. Fast forward to more recent history, and you see the pattern holds. That 1,000-year-old Sootopolis meteor wasn't alone. It capped a shower swarm that lit the skies for days. The impact energy, purer and more volatile, bypassed natural dampeners, slamming straight into Titan sleep cycles. Pulses radiated for years, felt as far as Sinnoh's distortions. It stirred both Titans simultaneously, land rising, seas flooding, until balance teetered on oblivion's edge. What kept it from total annihilation? That's where the sky intervenes, but not yet. These showers ingrained a truth. Hoenn exists in fragile equilibrium, stars forever poised to unleash the next reshaping. Every clear night, gaze up and wonder which streak carries the energy to crack the world open again. And as these celestial warnings escalated, Rayquaza forged a desperate alliance with the heavens themselves, an ozone pact that would redefine Sky's role in Hoenn's survival. What exactly did that pact entail, And how did it bind the atmosphere against the void's fury? You'll discover it all in the next chapter. Rayquaza's ozone pact Rayquaza descended like a comet of pure fury, its serpentine body coiling through the storm clouds to halt the endless war between Groudon and Kyogre. But stopping them wasn't enough. The Sky Titan had to bind them forever. What you need to know right now is that Rayquaza enforced their slumber not with raw power alone, but by reshaping the very air around Hoenn, turning the atmosphere into an unbreakable cage. Picture the primal age at its peak. Natural energy pulses through every inch of the planet, making Groudon and Kyogre titans of unimaginable scale. Groudon's footsteps crack continents into jagged shards, raising mountains that pierce the heavens. Kyogre counters by summoning tidal waves that swallow those peaks whole, carving basins deeper than any abyss you've ever dreamed of. Their clashes don't just reshape Hoenn, they rewrite the rules of existence. Land surges upward, only to drown in endless floods. The cycle repeats, day after scorching day, night after thundering night. Hoenn's skies blacken with debris, the air thick with primal energy that warps reality itself. You can almost feel it, can't you? That suffocating pressure building, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Then Rayquaza arrives, not as a mere dragon, but as the ozone guardian, the ruler of the stratosphere. Its body glows with an emerald aura, scales shimmering like the aurora it commands. It doesn't charge into the fray blindly. No, Rayquaza circles high above, weaving through the ozone layer, that invisible shield high in the atmosphere, where ultraviolet rays meet their end. You see, Rayquaza manipulates this layer like a master artisan. It thickens the ozone, amplifying atmospheric pressure to crushing levels. Down below, Groudon and Kyogre feel it first as a whisper, then a roar. The air grows heavy, pressing down on their colossal forms with the weight of the entire sky. How does this work? Think of it this way. In the primal age, these titans thrived on boundless energy, expanding without limit. But Rayquaza flips the script. By densifying the ozone and layering pressure gradients across Hoenn's skies, it creates a blanket of force that seeps into their very essence. Groudon's molten veins cool under the strain, its earth-shaking roars muffled as the atmosphere compresses its fiery core. Kyogre's watery geysers falter, the pressure squeezing the primordial seas back into dormancy. It's not destruction, it's domination through subtlety. Rayquaza enforces slumber by making wakefulness impossible. The titans tire, their movements slow, until they collapse into deep, enforced hibernation. Their eyes dim, bodies sink into hidden layers, and the world exhales. But Rayquaza knows brute force fades. Eternal restraints are needed. Enter the red orb and blue orb, forged in the heart of this ozone pact. These aren't ordinary artifacts. Humans of ancient Hoenn, scattered survivors of the cataclysms, witness the entire spectacle from jagged cliffs and makeshift shelters. They see Rayquaza hovering like a god, its tail lashing as it channels sky energy downward. Sparks of red and blue plasma ignite in its coils, drawn from the titans themselves. Groudon's primal essence bleeds into the red orb, a crimson crystal pulsing with land's fury. Kyogre's oceanic power infuses the blue orb, a sapphire gem swirling with abyssal depths. Rayquaza binds these fragments, sealing them as keys to control. You might wonder, why orbs? Why not chains or prisons? Because these orbs are symbiotic restraints. They hold just enough of the Titan's primal power to awaken them under dire need, but only under Rayquaza's command. In the hands of humans, they become safeguards, tools to summon the Titans briefly if balance tips too far. The forging happens amid the pact's climax. As Groudon and Kyogre succumb to the atmospheric crush, Rayquaza exhales twin streams of ionized air, crystallizing the orbs mid-air. They plummet like shooting stars, embedding into Hoenn's soil near Sootopolis, waiting for destiny. The people below gasp, their fireside tales igniting with awe. This moment births the Sky Pillar cult, a secretive order dedicated to Rayquaza's vigil. Those ancient Hoenites didn't just watch, they revered. From the rubble of reshaped lands, they trekked to the highest peaks, erecting the Sky Pillar as a spire to the heavens. Towering white stone, etched with serpentine motifs and ozone runes, it stands as both temple and warning. The cult forms around whispered oaths, guardians who climb the pillar yearly, offering meteoric shards to maintain the ozone pact. They chant of the Sky Titan's mercy, how Rayquaza spared Hoenn from total annihilation. Generation after generation, this cult preserves the orb's locations, training acolytes to sense atmospheric shifts. You can trace their influence in Hoenn's modern myths, those festival dances mimicking Rayquaza's coils, the skyward prayers during storms. It's a living legacy, proof that humanity didn't just survive the Titans. We partnered with the sky. Now, here's the twist that will make you rethink everything you've known about these legends. The red and blue orbs don't just restrain, they contain fragments of the Titan's primal power, raw echoes from the age of infinite energy. This isn't fan theory, it's woven into the law's fabric. When the orbs activate, they don't merely control Groudon and Kyogre, they revert them to primal forms, unlocking that ancient strength. Red orb surges with drought-inducing heat, terraforming landscapes in seconds. Blue orb unleashes precipitation cataclysms, flooding valleys overnight. But at what cost? These fragments tempt corruption. Handlers feel the pull, their minds clouded by Titan rage. The cult knew this, embedding safeguards, rituals aligning with Rayquaza's ozone cycles to dilute the power. Delve deeper, and you uncover how this pact echoes across the Pokémon world. Hoenn's balance isn't isolated, it's the blueprint. Rayquaza's atmospheric mastery explains ozone holes in distant regions, subtle nods to past interventions. Ever notice how legendary birds like Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres guard weather patterns? They might be lesser enforcers under Rayquaza's pact. And the orbs? Their primal fragments hint at Mega Evolution's origins, energy locked away until Rayquaza's own megaform taps it millennia later. You feel that chill yet, realizing Hoenn's past sculpted the global stage? Continents we take for granted today, Kanto's plateaus, Sinnoh's peaks, bear scars from similar cycles, Titans rising and falling under Skywatch. Let's explore the pact's mechanics further, because you deserve the full picture. Atmospheric pressure enforcement isn't poetic fluff, it's scientific mythos. Rayquaza elevates ozone concentrations, creating high-pressure domes over Titan layers. This compresses primal energy, forcing metabolic shutdown. Groudon retreats underground, pressure-sealing magma vents. Kyogre dives into sea trenches, currents halted by the aerial weight. The orbs amplify this, resonating with the Titan's frequencies. Hold the red orb aloft, and it syncs with Groudon's heartbeat, lulling or rousing as needed. Same for blue. The cult's Sky Pillar acts as a conduit, its pinnacle piercing the ozone layer to channel Rayquaza's will remotely. Witness accounts, passed down orally then carved in stone, paint vivid scenes. One elder describes Rayquaza's roar splitting thunder, ozone igniting in green veils that blanket the battlefield. Titans writhe, then still, as orbs form with a sound like shattering worlds. Cult founders swear the air tasted metallic, charged with power that lingers in Hoenn's winds today. These stories fuel devotion, turning fear into faith. Pilgrims still scale the pillar, touching orb replicas, seeking visions of the pact. But why does this matter to you, listening now? Because Rayquaza's ozone pact reveals Pokémon lore's core truth. Balance is enforced, not natural. Titans slumber not from peace, but pact. Orbs restrain not through weakness, but captured might. Hoenn's people didn't cower. They witnessed divinity, birthing a cult that guards our world. That twist, primal fragments in the orbs, means every activation risks unleashing the old wars. Feel the weight of that responsibility? It's why trainers in games quest for these artifacts, unknowingly upholding ancient vows. Expand your mind further. The pact's cyclical nature implies endless iterations. Primal surges wax and wane, pressure ebbs, titans stir faintly. Sky Pillar Sentinels monitor this, alerting if ozone thins. Connections ripple outward. Meteor falls glow? Residual pact energy? Sootopolis' cave systems, formed when orbs landed. Even Pokémon like Altaria, cloud drifters, embody mini Rayquazas, stabilizing local weathers. You're piecing it together now, aren't you? This foundation of slumber and restraint sets the stage for what comes next. But even unbreakable pacts face cosmic threats. Up next, the Millennium Meteor, about 1,000 years ago. A colossal impact craters Sootopolis, with shockwaves awakening Groudon and Kyogre simultaneously. How did Rayquaza respond to that apocalypse? You won't want to miss it. The Millennium Meteor, 1,000 years ago. Colossal impact craters Sootopolis shockwaves awakened Groudon and Kyogre simultaneously. Exactly 1,000 years ago, a meteor unlike any other tore through Hoenn's skies, a blazing harbinger of doom that would scar the land forever. This wasn't just a rock from the stars, it was the Millennium Meteor, a colossal force packed with otherworldly energy, hurtling toward the heart of the region with the fury of a god's wrath. You can almost hear the roar as it pierced the atmosphere, igniting the night into day, before smashing into what is now Sootopolis city. The impact, cataclysmic, it gouged out a massive crater deeper than any ocean trench, shattering mountains and vaporizing forests in an instant. Shockwaves rippled outward like the pulse of a dying heart, racing across continents and plunging into the Earth's core. Those shockwaves didn't just rattle the ground, they delved far deeper, stirring slumbers that had lasted millennia. Picture this, buried beneath Hoenn's primal bedrock, Groudon and Kyogre, the titans of land and sea, had been forced into uneasy rest by Rayquaza's ancient decree. But the meteor's raw power, infused with cosmic energies from beyond our world, pierced their seals. Simultaneously, impossibly, both awoke. Groudon erupted from its subterranean lair, its body radiating primal heat that cracked the earth like eggshell. Kyogre burst from abyssal depths, flooding coastlines with tidal surges that swallowed islands whole. For the first time in ages, the rivals stirred together, their roars harmonizing in a symphony of destruction that echoed to the stars. Why simultaneous? You might wonder if it was coincidence or cruel fate. The meteor's energy mimicked the primal surges of Hoenn's earliest days, that boundless natural force which once made these legends unstoppable. It resonated perfectly with both Titans' essences, land and sea, vibrating in sync. Groudon flexed its continent-shaping might, causing the ground to heave and rise in jagged plateaus, new mountains thrusting skyward as if the planet itself rebelled. Seas boiled under Kyogre's command, steam clouds billowing like volcanic fury, waves crashing with the force to erode civilizations in minutes. Skies fractured next, lightning storms birthing from the chaos, winds howling as if the heavens wept blood. This renewed war wasn't subtle. It was apocalypse reborn. You've heard whispers of their clashes in older lore, but this was vengeance amplified by stellar fire. Groudon stomped forward, expanding land masses that buried Kyogre's oceans under fresh soil, while Kyogre retaliated with downpours that turned valleys into lakes, drowning Groudon's gains. The air thickened with primal energy, so dense it warped reality. Pokémon across Hoenn, glowing with borrowed power, wild herds stampeding in blind panic. Villages that dotted the region vanished overnight, their people fleeing to higher ground or perishing in the flood. Sootopolis, ground zero, became a bubbling cauldron, its newborn crater filling with superheated water that glowed ethereal blue. But how did Hoenn survive such imbalance? The answer lies in the sky's eternal guardian. As land rose and seas boiled, skies fracturing into auroras of rage, a shadow descended from the ozone layer. Rayquaza, the sky dragon coiled in the upper atmosphere, sensed the rupture. It plummeted like a comet, scales shimmering with ozone crackle, eyes blazing with primordial judgment. This was no ordinary intervention. The meteor's lingering energy coursed through Rayquaza too, triggering something unprecedented. The world's first mega evolution. You see, in that moment, Rayquaza didn't just fight, it transcended, mega evolving into Delta Rayquaza, its form elongating, horns spiraling like black holes, aura pulsing with sky-high dominance. The confrontation was legendary. Rayquaza dove between the titans, psychic barriers halting Groudon's earth-shattering steps, aerial blasts evaporating Kyogre's cascades mid-air. Groudon roared defiance, summoning magma rivers that lit the crater red. Kyogre countered with hyper beams, carving oceans from stone. Rayquaza weaved through it all, its megaform harnessing the meteor's own power, turning cosmic debris into draconic fury. The battle reshaped Sootopolis permanently, the crater's walls crystallizing into impossible spires, a testament etched in stone. Hours blurred into eternity, but Rayquaza prevailed, forcing the titans back into slumber with roars that silent storms. Think about the implications for you, listening now. This event wasn't isolated. It proved Hoenn's law as the blueprint for the Pokémon world's origins. Groudon and Kyogre didn't just fight over territory, they embodied the eternal dance of expansion and submersion, land claiming sea, sea reclaiming land. The Millennium Meteor acted as a catalyst, reminding us that external forces like celestial impacts can reignite these cycles. Ancient texts from Sky Pillar scribes describe it vividly. The star fell, brothers woke, sister sky bound them anew. That sister, Rayquaza, enforcer of balance, delved deeper into the meteor itself. Legends say it originated from a shattered moon fragment, carrying fragments of Deoxys DNA, that space virus Pokémon. Its energy wasn't mere kinetic force, it pulsed with infinite adaptability, explaining why it awakened both titans equally. Impact site analysis, if Pokémon scholars could excavate Sootopolis crater safely, would reveal meteor shards still humming today, powering the city's legendary gym. These remnants influenced human responses too. Survivors, awed by Rayquaza's feat, erected the Sky Pillar not just as homage, but as a meteor watch station, its heights piercing clouds to spot incoming threats. Red and blue orbs emerged from this era as direct countermeasures. Forged from meteor essence blended with primal relics, the red orb channels Groudon's fury controllably. Blue the same for Kyogre. Priests of Sootopolis maintained them, passing knowledge through generations, ensuring no future awakening caught Hoenn unaware. This meteor strike established the cyclical cataclysms you hear echoed in global myths. Meteor showers birthing meteor falls earlier, primal surges fueling endless reshapings. Hoenn's geography? Just the latest iteration, continents widened by Groudon, oceans deepened by Kyogre, skies patrolled by Rayquaza. What does this mean for the broader Pokémon world? Hoenn's saga implies every region bears Titan scars. Sinnoh's spear pillar meteors? Echoes of this. Unova's ancient wars? Subtle influences. You're piecing together a tapestry where Hoenn reshapes not just itself, but the planet's ancient past. The millennium meteor proved Titans never truly sleep. They wait for triggers like this cosmic intruder. Eyewitness accounts, preserved in oral traditions, paint harrowing pictures. A fisherman off Route 132 recalled seas parting like curtains, revealing Kyogre's silhouette amid whirlpools. Farmers near Lavaridge saw Groudon silhouetted against erupting volcanoes, earth splitting to birth lava flows. Children in Slateport spoke of skies cracking open, Rayquaza's tail whipping thunderbolts that felled lightning birds. These stories weren't exaggerations. Seismic records etched in stone corroborate the scale, quakes registering magnitudes that would flatten modern cities. Rayquaza's mega-evolution here marks a pivotal lore moment. Beforehand, megastones were theoretical. This was practical genesis. The dragon absorbed meteor radiation, stabilizing it into mega-energy, a process replicated later by trainers. Without it, Hoenn might have sunk or risen into uninhabitable extremes. Post-battle, Rayquaza coiled atop Sky Pillar, exhausted but victorious, its presence warding off lesser threats for centuries. Humanity adapted ingeniously. Sootopolis rose around the crater, its architecture circular to honour the impact. Gyms built on resilient crystal outcrops. Festivals commemorate the meteor annually, fireworks mimicking its descent, prayers invoking Rayquaza. Yet peril lingers, orbs hidden in caves, ready for misuse by ambitious souls. This event underscores Pokémon World's fragility. Titans embody nature's dual forces, Meteor as wildcard chaos. You're witnessing history's pivot, where one rock from space nearly unravelled eons of balance. But the full terror of that crater, the unrelenting fury it unleashed on Sootopolis, that's a tale that demands its own reckoning. Up next, in Chapter 11, Sootopolis Crater's Fury, where we'll uncover the ground-level horrors and the desperate stands that define survival. You won't want to miss how the city endured the epicenter of annihilation. Sootopolis Crater's Fury. About 1,000 years ago, a colossal meteor tore through Hoenn's skies, smashing into the earth with such force that it gouged out a massive crater right in the heart of the region. That scar, now cradling the gleaming city of Sootopolis, stood as a silent monument to cosmic violence, its walls rising like jagged teeth from the depths. Humans, ever resilient, built their homes atop this wound, carving streets and spires into the stone, blissfully ignorant of the primal fury simmering below. You can picture it, can't you? A bustling port city perched on an ancient battlefield, waves lapping at its edges, markets alive with the chatter of trainers and merchants. But beneath the surface calm, something stirred, echoing the raw power of Hoenn's earliest days. What made this crater so dangerous wasn't just its size. The meteor's impact unleashed a bizarre energy pulse, one that resonated with the very essence of the planet's super-ancient titans. Scientists later pieced it together, but back then, no one suspected. The city's elders spoke of legends, warning tales passed down from the primal age when Groudon and Kyogre first clashed over the shape of the world. Yet life went on. Fishermen cast their nets into the crystalline waters of the crater lake. Children played in the shadow of the gym, dreaming of badges and battles. Sootopolis thrived, a jewel in Hoenn's crown, drawing pilgrims and adventurers alike. But you know how these stories go. The ground doesn't forget its grudges. Then, without warning, the fury ignited. Deep within the crater's core, residual meteor shards began to hum, vibrating with an intensity that mimicked the boundless natural energy of the primal age. This wasn't ordinary rock. It pulsed like a heartbeat from eons past when Groudon expanded the continents and Kyogre flooded the basins in endless war. That energy seeped upward, cracking the Earth's crust, awakening the slumbering giants. First came the tremors, subtle at first, rattling teacups in seaside cafes. Residents dismissed them as aftershocks from distant quakes. But you could feel the shift if you paid attention, the air growing thick, charged with ozone and sulfur. Groudon rose first, its massive form bursting from the lava chambers beneath Sootopolis. Imagine the scene. The ground splits wide open right under the central plaza, and rivers of molten rock erupt like arteries torn free. Lava fountains hundreds of feet high, painting the sky crimson as they cascade over rooftops and seawalls. Streets that once bustled with life now became rivers of fire, swallowing market stalls whole. The heat was unbearable, melting stone to slag, turning the air into a choking inferno. Groudon's roar echoed like thunder from the planet's core, shaking every building to its foundations. And this wasn't some distant event. No, Sootopolis, built directly atop the scar, became the absolute epicenter. Flames licked at the heels of fleeing citizens. Bridges collapsed into bubbling pools, and the once pristine crater lake boiled away in steam clouds that blotted out the sun. But Groudon wasn't alone. As if summoned by the chaos, Kyogre surged from the depths of the ocean beyond the crater's rim. Its awakening unleashed hyper-tsunamis, walls of water amplified to nightmare proportions by the primal surge. These weren't normal waves. They towered over the city, cresting at 500 feet, crashing down with the force of collapsing mountains. The first one hit like Judgment Day, slamming into Sootopolis' harbours, shattering docks and hurling ships skyward like toys. Water poured into the streets, mixing with lava to create explosive hisses of steam that scalded everything in reach. You can hear it now, the deafening roar of the sea reclaiming its territory. Buildings groaning as they twist and buckle under the dual assault. Floodwaters rose faster than anyone could run, sweeping away families, trainers, Pokémon alike in a frothing maelstrom. Picture the desperation. In Sootopolis' grand gym, where Hoenn once orchestrated elegant water battles, the floors now buckled under seismic waves. Outside, the dual cataclysm turned the city into hellscape. Lava hardened into black spikes, piercing through submerged avenues, while tsunamis battered the cliffs, eroding them chunk by chunk. The air filled with the screams of the trapped, the crackle of fire, the relentless pound of waves. Human civilizations across Hoenn teetered on the brink of extinction. Reports flooded in from every corner. Coastal towns drowned, inland farms scorched to ash, trade routes severed. Phalabor's forests ignited from stray embers carried on superheated winds. Moville's power grid failed as earthquakes toppled transmission towers. Even Slateport's massive harbour vanished under successive tidal surges, its ships reduced to driftwood. You might wonder, how did anyone survive? Bravery played its part. Trainers rallied their Pokémon, water types holding back lava flows with desperate hydro pumps, ground types shielding groups from debris. But it was touch and go. Entire districts of Sootopolis vanished, erased in minutes. The death toll climbed into the thousands, with refugees streaming toward higher ground, only to find paths blocked by fresh fissures belching smoke. The world watched in horror as Hoenn's jewel city became ground zero for apocalypse. News spread like wildfire, or rather, like the lava that fueled it. Gym leaders coordinated evacuations via airships, but the skies themselves churned with ash clouds, grounding most flights. Food shortages loomed as fisheries emptied and farmlands charred. For a heart-stopping moment, extinction felt real, not some abstract legend. Humanity's foothold in Hoenn hung by a thread, fragile as sea foam against the Titan's wrath. Yet amid the ruin, a revelation dawned on the few scholars who pieced together fragments from ancient tablets unearthed in the chaos. The crater's energy wasn't random. It perfectly replicated the surges of the primal age, those epochs when natural power flowed unbound, supercharging Groudon and Kyogre to godlike might. The meteor hadn't just awakened them, it had reverted the site to a primordial state, flooding the area with that same volatile energy. Blue orb and red orb fragments, long thought dormant, resonated too, amplifying the Titan's fury. This wasn't mere coincidence. The crater acted as a beacon, a scar that reopened old wounds, proving Hoenn's geography was locked in a cycle of destruction and rebirth. Every clash echoed the planet's founding wars, reshaping land and sea in violent strokes. As the dual onslaught peaked, with lava domes rising like volcanic pimples across the crater floor, and tsunamis carving new bays into the coastline, hope seemed lost. Sootopolis' surviving spires tilted precariously, half submerged in toxic slurry. The primal energy peaked, turning the air electric, Pokémon across the region going feral under its influence. Wild Camerupt stampeded through Dewford, stomping paths of destruction. Sharpedo packs terrorized the waves, their senses heightened to frenzy. Hoenn's balance shattered, and with it, the illusion of human dominance over nature. You feel that chill, don't you? The realization that these titans don't rage for sport. They embody forces older than time, indifferent to our cities and dreams. Eyewitness accounts, scribbled in panic on whatever scrap survived, paint vivid horrors. One trainer described Groudon's eyes glowing like twin suns as it stomped, each step widening the crater by acres, birthing new islands from cooled magma. Another spoke of Kyogre's fins slicing the horizon, summoning whirlpools that dragged ocean liners under. The death toll mounted, but so did the resolve. Elders activated sky pillar beacons, ancient signals meant for just this calamity. Red orbs glowed in hidden vaults, pulsing counter-energy, but it wasn't enough. The Titans, empowered beyond reckoning, ignored all but their eternal feud. Land expanded violently under Groudon, swallowing sea. Kyogre countered with deluges that redrew maps overnight. This fury at Sootopolis didn't just threaten one city, it rippled outward, a harbinger of global shifts. Sea levels spiked worldwide, swamping distant shores in Unova and Sinnoh. Volcanic activity surged in Kanto's mountains, ash clouds dimming the sun for weeks. Hoenn's economy ground to halt, berries rotting in unharvested fields, contests cancelled amid blackouts. You see the stakes? One crater's rage nearly undid millennia of progress. Civilizations teetered because we'd built on unstable ground, forgetting the law etched in every cave and ruin. But here's the twist that changes everything. As the chaos reached its zenith, with Sootopolis reduced to a skeletal ruin afloat in steaming waters, a shadow pierced the storm clouds. Something immense uncoiled from the stratosphere, drawn by the primal call. Rayquaza, the Sky Guardian, descended in desperation. What happened next in Rayquaza's desperate descent will leave you breathless, as it reveals the true cost of stopping titans unbound by slumber. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Rayquaza's desperate descent. As the ground quaked and the seas boiled around Sootopolis city, a forgotten beacon pierced the chaos. The sky pillar, that towering spire of weathered stone, rising from the ocean's edge, suddenly hummed to life. Carved by hands long turned to dust, it was no mere monument. It was a summons, a desperate cry etched into Hoenn's very bedrock. You see, when the titans Groudon and Kyogre clashed in their primal fury, the ancient sages knew one truth above all. Only the sky could silence the land and sea. And so the pillar activated, its crystals igniting with ethereal light, broadcasting a signal straight to the heavens where Rayquaza dwelled. Not as myth, but as the pivot of Hoenn's survival. High above the roiling storm, far beyond the ozone's veil, Rayquaza sensed the call. The dragon of the skies, eternal guardian coiled in the upper atmosphere, uncoiled its massive form. Have you ever wondered what it feels like when a god awakens? Rayquaza plummeted, a streak of emerald fury slicing through thunderheads, its body radiating delta energy like a living aurora. That delta stream, pure atmospheric power drawn from jet streams and solar winds, crackled along its scales, turning the clouds into a vortex of green lightning. Storm clouds parted unwillingly as the Titan descended, coiling and twisting through them with impossible grace, every loop sending shockwaves that rattled the waves below. Down it came, faster than any shooting star, delta energy pulsing brighter with each mile. Groudon roared from the fractured earth, summoning magma rivers that scorched the land anew. Kyogre countered with tidal walls hundreds of feet high, drowning coastlines in primordial rage. The two behemoths, swollen with the Meteor's curse, reshaped Hoenn in minutes, what took eons before. Cities crumbled, forests ignited, and the air thickened with the scent of salt and sulfur. But Rayquaza arrived, slamming into the fray like judgment itself. Its first clash was a thunderclap of scales against hide. It dove at Groudon, wrapping its coils around the land titan's armoured flanks, delta energy surging to suppress the Earth's endless expansion. Yet the initial clashes failed. Rayquaza's strikes, precise and devastating as they were, barely scratched the surface. Groudon's drought aura flared, evaporating the delta stream on contact, while Kyogre's origin pulse flooded the sky with pressure that forced Rayquaza back. You can almost hear the frustration in the wind, the sky dragon twisting mid-air, unleashing hyper beams that carved craters in the sea and scorched Kyogre's fins. But the Titan shrugged it off. Empowered beyond measure by the Meteor's residual energy, they had tapped into the Primal Age's raw essence. Back then, Hoenn overflowed with natural energy, making Groudon and Kyogre unstoppable architects of worlds. Now, that same surge coursed through them again, amplified by cosmic fallout. Rayquaza's coils tightened around Groudon, trying to lift the beast skyward, but the ground titan rooted itself, birthing mountains that pinned the dragon down. Kyogre exploited the moment, slamming a sheath of water that nearly drowned them both. Rayquaza broke free, ascending in a spiral of fury, only to dive again at Kyogre. Delta energy flared into a protective barrier, but the sea titan's waves pierced it, sending Rayquaza tumbling through the air. These weren't the balanced interventions of legend. This was desperation. The Sky Guardian, who had once forced slumber upon them with ease, now fought for every inch. Why? Because the Titans weren't just awakened, they were evolved in their rage. The meteor hadn't merely stirred them, it had flooded their veins with power that dwarfed even the Primal Age's heights. Groudon's steps cracked continents wider. Kyogre's cries raised oceans that swallowed islands whole. Rayquaza's roars echoed across Hoenn, a plea to the winds themselves, but the clashes yielded nothing but exhaustion. You might ask, how could the mediator of worlds falter like this? The answer lies in the cycle Hoenn endured. These weren't isolated rampages. Millennia ago, meteor showers had pummeled the region, birthing meteor falls and scattering energy that first roused the Titans. Each impact was a reset, a cosmic hammer reshaping the land. Rayquaza intervened then, coiling through newborn storms to bind them in sleep. But this latest cataclysm, the massive strike forming Sootopolis crater, poured fuel on ancient fires. The delta energy Rayquaza wielded, drawn from the atmosphere's purity, clashed against corrupted primal surges. Initial failures mounted, a tail swipe glancing off Groudon's plates, a Draco meteor dissolving in Kyogre's mist. The sky pillar's light flickered below, as if urging Rayquaza on, but the dragon's form began to waver. Deeper into the descent, the desperation peaked. Rayquaza coiled higher, gathering every jet stream into a maelstrom of delta power. It plunged once more, this time entwining both titans in a triple helix of scales and fury. Groudon bucked, earth pillars erupting to impale the sky dragon. Kyogre thrashed, hydrostatic blasts hammering from below. Delta energy exploded outward, a green supernova that lit the night like day, but the titans endured. Empowered beyond measure, they reversed the bind, Groudon's seismic might cracking Rayquaza's coils. Kyogre's waves hurling the dragon into the crater's depths. Sootopolis vanished under flood and fire, the city's cries lost in the din. Rayquaza rose, scarred and straining, its eyes glowing with unyielding resolve. The clashes had failed not through weakness, but because this threat eclipsed all before. Here's where the twist ignites. In the heart of this crisis, as Rayquaza hovered battered between land and sea, something stirred within. A spark, unfamiliar yet primal, flickered along its length. Mega Evolution's first ember, born not from stone or bond, but from sheer necessity. The delta energy warped, condensing into a radiant core that pulsed with potential. You felt that pull in battles, trainers, the moment power transcends limits. But for Rayquaza, it was cataclysmic. The Titans charged again, Groudon erupting lava seas, Kyogre summoning abyssal trenches, their empowered forms unyielding. Rayquaza met them head-on, that spark flaring brighter, hinting at a transformation that would redefine everything. Let that sink in. Hoenn's law isn't just about endless war, it's a testament to adaptation. The Sky Pillar's activation wasn't random. It channeled the sage's foresight, built after prior meteor warnings, to call the sky precisely when land and sea spiraled out of control. Rayquaza's descent through those storm clouds, radiating delta energy, painted the skies in legends still whispered today. Fishermen off Route 131 swear they see green trails on stormy nights, echoes of that coil. But the failures? They humanize the divine. Rayquaza, the aloof ozone dweller, forced into vulnerability, clashing and recoiling against titans who had grown monstrously strong. Primal energy, that abundant force from Hoenn's youth, made Groudon a walking apocalypse, continents birthing under its claws. Kyogre, a liquid colossus, oceans rising like vengeful gods. And the empowerment? The meteor's gift turned them into something otherworldly. Imagine the delta stream, Rayquaza's lifeblood, clashing with primal reversion. It's like lightning versus earthquake, each cancelling the other in explosive stalemates. Initial clashes failed because Rayquaza fought as it always had, guardian of balance, not destroyer, but the crisis demanded more. That spark of mega evolution, it wasn't planned, it was evolution's desperate reply to extinction. As Rayquaza coiled anew, delta energy fusing with the meteor's echo, the air hummed with possibility. Groudon lunged, its roar splitting clouds. Kyogre surged, waves cresting like mountains. Rayquaza twisted between, the spark igniting, fully in the next breath. This moment reshaped Pokémon history. Hoenn's geography, those jagged coasts and sunken craters, bears the scars. Meteor falls, a graveyard of cosmic debris that seeded these wars. The Sky Pillar stands as sentinel, its activation a ritual of last resort. You can visit it, feel the stones warm under your hands, knowing they once summoned salvation. Rayquaza's descent reminds us, balance isn't given, it's enforced through trial. The Titan's power, beyond measure, forced the sky to evolve or perish, and that twist, the spark in crisis, sets the stage for what comes next. But wait until you hear how that spark explodes. In the next chapter, the first mega evolution, Rayquaza unleashes a power that seals the Titans forever, changing the Pokémon world in ways you never imagined. What does it take for a sky god to transcend? Stay with me. Now let's delve deeper into why this descent mattered so profoundly. Rayquaza didn't just fight, it embodied the atmosphere's wrath. Coiling through storm clouds, its delta energy wasn't mere glow, it was a weapon, ionizing air into plasma whips that lashed the Titans. Yet Groudon's heat aura turned it to steam. Kyogre's cold currents dispersed it. Failure after failure built tension, like a storm-gathering force. The Titans, drawing from the planet's core and abyss, were primal juggernauts. Groudon expanded land masses mid-battle, creating temporary islands only to submerge them under Kyogre's retaliation. Rayquaza intervened, but each clash drained it, scales shedding like fallen stars. Consider the human cost. Sootopolis, built in that fateful crater, became ground zero. Citizens fled to caves as the pillar glowed, praying the call worked. And it did. Rayquaza's arrival halted the immediate end. But the empowerment of the Titans? That's the horror. The Meteor impact, roughly 1,000 years prior in lore timelines, infused them with extraterrestrial might, surpassing even their formation days. Primal Age energy was Earth's bounty. This was Starfire. Rayquaza's desperate maneuvers, looping dives, energy-infused coils, bought time, but the spark emerged from exhaustion's edge. That twist wasn't coincidence. Crisis forges legends. As Rayquaza faltered, the delta stream resonated with the meteor's wavelength, birthing mega potential. It's why Hoenn lore underpins the world. Cyclical cataclysms, Titans as shapers, Rayquaza as equalizer. Red and blue orbs, later born from this era, safeguards against repeats. Sky Pillar, eternal watchpost. Every Pokémon battle echoes this, trainers channeling that same spark. Feel the weight? You're not just hearing facts, you're uncovering the blueprint of worlds. Rayquaza's descent through those clouds, radiant and relentless, failed initially to teach resilience. Titans too mighty forced innovation, and that spark, it promises revolution. As we approach the first mega evolution, imagine the skies splitting open. What power awaits? You won't want to miss it. To expand, recall the pillar's mechanics. Ancient runes powered by meteor shards, embedded within, amplified the summons across atmospheric layers. Rayquaza, patrolling the ozone, attuned to such frequencies, responded instantly. Its coil through storms, a ballet of destruction, body undulating, generating winds that rivaled Kyogre's gales. Delta energy crackled, empowering moves like Twister into cataclysmic vortices. Yet clashes faltered. Groudon's precipice blades countered coils, Kyogre's origin pulse disrupted flight. Empowerment details, post-meteor, Titans accessed reversion, primal forms boosting stats exponentially. Rayquaza, standard, couldn't match. Desperation peaked when pinned between them. delta aura fading, then the spark, internal energy crystallizing, foreshadowing mega stoneless evolution unique to it. This lore threads everywhere. Meteor falls glow, delta residue, Sootopolis' cave network, Titan scars. Hoenn's myth cycles explain global geography. Past continents reformed, current one a snapshot. Rayquaza ensures iteration continues. You're deep in now, feeling the pull. The descent's failures heighten the triumph ahead. Titans beyond measure? Check. Spark ignites? Primed. And coming up, the first mega evolution reveals the finale you crave. How does it unfold? Listen close. The first mega evolution. 1,000 years ago, a colossal meteor plummeted from the stars, carving a massive crater right where Sootopolis city now stands. Its impact didn't just scar the Earth, it unleashed waves of raw cosmic energy that rippled across Hoenn, stirring the slumbering titans once more. Groudon and Kyogre, those primal behemoths of land and sea, felt the disturbance deep in their ancient cores. The ground heaved as Groudon burst forth, its crimson body igniting the soil into molten fury, raising continents in jagged defiance. Simultaneously, Kyogre surged from the depths, its sapphire form swelling the oceans until they swallowed coastlines whole. The two clashed again, their battle sending tsunamis crashing against newborn mountains, earthquakes splitting the seas. Hoenn trembled on the brink of annihilation, the balance shattered by this stellar intruder. But you know what happens next, don't you? Rayquaza, the sky's eternal guardian, sensed the chaos from its lofty ozone perch. It descended like a comet of emerald wrath, coils slicing through storm clouds, eyes blazing with the fury of forgotten skies. This wasn't the first time Rayquaza had intervened, but this awakening was different. The meteor's remnants, shards of otherworldly stone pulsing with hyper-concentrated energy, littered the crater's edge. As Rayquaza hovered above the fray, those fragments resonated with its draconic essence. What if I told you that collision sparked something unprecedented? The air crackled with power, the shards glowing brighter, drawn inexorably to the serpent's scales. Rayquaza's body began to change, absorbing the meteor's cosmic fury, its form elongating, horns sharpening into lethal crescents, wings unfurling into vast, delta-shaped sails that blotted out the sun. In that moment, the first mega evolution was born. Not from a trainer's bond or a stone's whisper, but from pure, desperate necessity. A dragon god pushed to evolve beyond its limits by the universe's own hand. Mega Rayquaza emerged, a towering force of iridescent green and gold, its mega ring absent, replaced by the raw pulse of stellar remnants embedded in its flesh. You can almost feel the shift, can't you? The atmosphere thickened, charged with delta energy so potent it warped reality itself. Groudon roared, slamming the earth with precipice blades that birthed canyons in seconds. Kyogre countered with origin pulse, beams of primordial water lancing through the air like liquid lightning. But Mega Rayquaza, it dominated utterly. In your mind's eye as I describe it, Mega Rayquaza coiled high above, then struck with dragon ascent, a plummeting dive that shattered sound barriers. Its body became a living meteor, trailing emerald fire as it barreled into Groudon first. The land titan reeled, its desiccation aura flickering under the onslaught. Rayquaza's extreme speed blurred its form into green lightning, weaving between Kyogre's tidal blasts, each pass leaving gashes of pure delta force. The sky serpent's tail whipped out in a dragon tail that sent Groudon skidding across the crater, embedding it into the bedrock. Then turning to Kyogre, Mega Rayquaza unleashed Dragon Claw. Talons extended to impossible lengths, raking through the sea titan's watery shell and drawing primal ichor that evaporated on contact. The draconic megaforce was overwhelming. Rayquaza's presence alone suppressed their primal powers, the abundant natural energy of the primal age bending to its superior will. Why was this transformation so revolutionary? Think about it. Mega evolutions in our modern Pokémon world require a keystone, a trainer's resolve, a momentary surge. But here, Rayquaza tapped into the Meteor's essence directly, remnants fusing with its cells in a symbiotic overload. Those shards weren't just rocks, they were crystallized echoes of the cosmos, carrying the same delta stream that courses through legendaries. Historians in the Pokémon lore whisper that this event retroactively defined Mega Evolution itself, a mechanic born not in labs or battles, but in cataclysmic survival. Rayquaza's body grew denser, its scales hardened to diamond-like resilience, its roars echoing as sonic booms that parted oceans and leveled peaks. Groudon tried to counter with eruption, spewing lava rivers, but Mega Rayquaza's fly maneuver turned the magma against it, aerial gusts hurling it back. Kyogre summoned sheer cold to freeze the battlefield, but Rayquaza's heat from absorbed meteor energy melted it mid-air, retaliating with a point-blank Draco meteor that rained draconic stars upon the sea beast. The battle raged for what felt like days, though ancient tablets suggest mere hours. Each clash escalated Hoenn's terror. Islands sank, volcanoes erupted unbidden, skies wept acid rain. Yet Mega Rayquaza's dominance was absolute. Its V-Create-like power, fueled by that mega force, allowed it to juggle both titans effortlessly. You'd dodge a hydro pump from Kyogre, pivot mid-air to slam Groudon with outrage, the frenzy amplifying its might until the air hummed with overkill energy. The serpent's eyes glowed with cosmic fire, scanning the chaos, calculating every move with predatory precision. The Meteor remnants, now fully integrated, granted it temporary invincibility, a shield of raw space energy that shrugged off primal assaults. Groudon charged with Fissure, aiming to split the world, but Rayquaza met it head-on with Hyper Voice, a deafening cry that vibrated the Titan's body into submission. As the Titans weakened, their roars turning to laboured gasps, Mega Rayquaza pressed the advantage. It coiled around Groudon first, squeezing with constrictor force amplified 100-fold, forcing the landmass back into the crater's depths. The ground sealed around it, cracks mending under draconic pressure. Then, swooping low, Rayquaza engulfed Kyogre in a vortex of Dragon Pulse, the energy beam drilling into the sea, pushing it down into abyssal slumber. The Titans crushed back into their resting places, the crater itself seeming to sigh in relief as it resealed, burying the Meteor's fury beneath layers of stabilized earth and water. Balance restored, but at what cost? Rayquaza hovered, its megaform flickering, the remnant's power ebbing as the crisis passed. It ascended once more, leaving Hoenn scarred but saved. This revelation hits hard, doesn't it? Mega Evolution, that pinnacle of Pokémon power we chase in games and anime, originated here, from cosmic desperation. Rayquaza didn't choose it. The universe forced it upon the Sky Guardian to prevent total planetary reset. Those meteor remnants acted as the world's first Mega Stone, a one-time catalyst proving that evolution isn't linear. It's a response to existential threats. Lore experts debate if Rayquaza could ever mega evolve again without such stellar aid, or if Sky Pillar's ruins hold echoes of that power. What does this mean for the Pokémon world? It cements Hoenn as the cradle of cataclysmic cycles, where meteors don't just destroy, they innovate. Delve deeper, and you'll find connections to modern events. Remember Deoxys, the DNA Pokémon born from a meteor, or the Delta episode, where more space rocks threaten Hoenn anew. Rayquaza's first mega hints at a larger tapestry. Legendaries evolving under duress, geometries of land, sea, sky locked in eternal tension. The primal age's energy surges amplified by impacts create pressure cookers for transcendence. Imagine the awe of ancient witnesses, fishermen in Sootopolis seeing a green god rend titans asunder. Their tails evolved into the red and blue orbs, artifacts, channeling similar forces to control the beasts later. But how did Rayquaza achieve such dominance? Its base form is formidable, sure, Delta Stream aura pacifies weather wars. Mega form, it cranks that to god tier. Stats balloon, attack piercing 180, speed blurring past 115, defenses unyielding. Moves like Dragon Ascent ignore abilities, clanging scales shred foes rhythmically. In lore terms, it's Draconic Megaforce incarnate, a serpent embodying the void between stars, wielding gravity as a weapon. Groudon and Kyogre, mighty as they are, operate on terrestrial scales. Rayquaza transcends to atmospheric, then cosmic. Eyewitness accounts, etched in Meteor Fall's caverns, describe the finale vividly. As the Titan slumped, the crater filled with a luminous seal, Rayquaza's tail etching runes that pulse faintly today. This act birthed the Sky Pillar tradition, humans building a spire to honour the saviour, embedding warnings against future falls. The first mega evolution wasn't glory, it was grim necessity, a flare of power in darkness. You might wonder, what lingers from that day? Sootopolis' perpetual mists, whispers say, are evaporated primal essence. Crater walls hold fossilized meteor shards, humming with latent delta. Rayquaza's intervention proves the Pokémon world's past isn't static. It's iterative, reshaped by collisions every millennium. Hoenn's geography? Just the latest draft, Titans as editors. Rayquaza, the final proofreader. And yet, victory was temporary. The Titans slumbered, but their stirring demanded permanence. In the next chapter, Sealing the Titans, you'll discover how humans stepped in with forbidden orbs and towering monuments, forging safeguards that echo through time, secrets that could prevent the next apocalypse or unleash it entirely. Stay with me as we uncover those desperate measures. Sealing the Titans, in the shadow of Sootopolis crater, where the earth trembled and seas boiled, humanity forged weapons, not of steel, but of pure primal energy. The red orb and blue orb emerged from the fires of desperation, twin relics designed to pierce the hearts of the raging titans themselves. You see, these weren't mere trinkets, they were crystallized essences of Hoenn's primal age, channeling the very forces that birthed Groudon and Kyogre. What if I told you that one glow of crimson light could force a continent maker back into slumber? Hold that thought, because that's exactly what happened next. Picture the scene, though you're hearing it unfold in your mind. Groudon, that colossal beast of land and drought, stomped across Hoenn's fractured terrain, its body radiating heat that cracked mountains and withered forests in an instant. Rivers vanished into steam. Villages that had barely survived the floods now faced annihilation from endless expansion. The people of Hoenn, scattered and desperate, turned to their wisest seers and smiths. From meteor fragments unearthed in the chaos, echoes of the very impact that started this nightmare, they crafted the red orb. Infused with the sun's fury and the earth's unyielding core, it pulsed like a second heartbeat of the planet. A lone guardian, chosen from Sootopolis' ancient line, climbed the crumbling cliffs toward Groudon's path. The air shimmered with heat mirages. Every step forward felt like walking into a forge. But as the red orb was raised high, it ignited. A beam of searing red energy lanced through the haze, striking Groudon square in its armoured chest. The Titan roared, a sound that shook the stars, but the orb's power resonated with its own primal essence. You could almost feel it, the orb overriding Groudon's instincts, cooling its volcanic rage, forcing those massive limbs to slow to stumble, to sink into the earth. Groudon didn't fight back with claws or quakes. It simply yielded. Its eyes dimmed from blazing red to a deep, slumbering gold. The ground ceased its upheaval. Deserts receded just enough to let life breathe again. The red orb had subdued the continent Pokémon, binding it to an unbreakable dormancy deep beneath Hoenn's crust. But victory was fleeting. Across the waves, Kyogre stirred anew. That oceanic leviathan, swollen with primal seawater, lashed out in retaliation. Tsunamis taller than cliffs battered the coasts, flooding the lands Groudon had just begun to reclaim. The balance teetered once more. Enter the blue orb, its counterpart, born from the same meteor-born rituals, but tuned to the tides. Shimmering like a captured storm cloud, it held the chill of abyssal depths and the rhythm of endless currents. Another hero from Hoenn's people, perhaps a seafaring elder from the southern isles, braved the churning maelstrom, orb in hand. Waves crashed like thunder as the blue orb activated. A cascade of azure light erupted, cutting through the spray to envelop Kyogre's sleek, whale-like form. The sea basin Pokémon thrashed, summoning geysers that could drown cities, but the orb's influence was insidious, harmonious. It whispered to Kyogre's core, sinking with its life-giving floods, transforming fury into serenity. The Leviathan's fins slowed, its cries softened from tempests to distant echoes. Inch by inch, it descended into the ocean's embrace, carving out a vast basin as its final resting place. The waters calmed, storms parted. The blue orb had tamed the titan of the seas, lulling it into a profound, eternal sleep. With both titans subdued, Hoenn hung by a thread. Rayquaza, that serpentine sky sovereign, uncoiled from the ozone layer one final time. Having mediated their clashes for eons, it now oversaw the ceiling. But how do you ensure such power never awakens, unchecked? The answer lay in stone and sky. High above the waves on a jagged spire that pierced the clouds, the people erected the sky pillar. This wasn't just a monument. It became an eternal vigil, a towering shrine carved from the sturdiest granite, etched with warnings of meteor falls and titan slumbers. At its pinnacle, a chamber awaited Rayquaza, a throne of reverence where the dragon could perch, its emerald eyes scanning the horizons for any stirrings below. You might wonder, why there? Why that lonely pillar rising from the sea like a forgotten fang? Legends say it marked the exact spot where Rayquaza first intervened in the primal age, halting the Titans' endless war. Now it stood as Hoenn's lighthouse against apocalypse, adorned with murals of orbs glowing triumphantly, runes that glowed faintly under moonlight, and altars holding replicas of the sacred relics. Priests and priestesses took vows there, chanting litanies that echoed Rayquaza's draconic roars, ensuring the slumbers held. One wrong meteor, one surge of primal energy, and the pillar would summon the Sky Guardian anew. It was vigilance incarnate, a promise carved into the heavens. Hoenn began to rebuild atop this fragile balance, every stone laid with the weight of legend. Cities rose from rubble, but not as they were. Sootopolis rebuilt around its crater lake, turning Scar into sacred pool. Lava Ridge hot springs, once Groudon's forge, became healing waters. Moss Deep Space Center foreshadowed eyes on the stars, watching for cosmic threats. Farmers tilled soil, enriched by Titan aftermath, yielding crops that fed generations. Fishermen navigated seas forever altered, deeper in places, shallower in others. Artisans wove tapestries of the clash, Groudon's red silhouette against Kyogre's blue, Rayquaza arcing between. These weren't fairy tales. They etched into culture, into festivals where orbs were paraded under guard, reminding all of the cost of imbalance. Think about it. Every cave in Hoenn, every fault line, every atoll whispers of this era. Meteor falls born from ancient showers now housed shrines to the orbs. The region's geography? A patchwork quilt of landmass upheavals and sea level scars. Hoenn's people didn't conquer nature, they negotiated with it, building atop the Titan's battleground, always one quake or tide away from reminder. Legends spread beyond borders, seeding myths across the Pokémon world. Groudon as Earthfather, Kyogre as Ocean Mother, Rayquaza as Arbiter. These stories shaped how trainers everywhere viewed legendaries, not as pets but as forces. Yet power like the orbs demanded caution. In the aftermath, as peace settled like dust after storm, the relics were hidden. Not destroyed, too vital for that, but concealed where only the pure-hearted could find them. The red orb vanished into Mount Chimney's volcanic heart, guarded by heat mirages and lava flows, a trial for any who sought Groudon's leash. The blue orb sank into a submarine grotto beneath Sootopolis, accessible only through underwater labyrinths teeming with ancient relics. Why hide them? Misuse could reawaken the Titans prematurely. A power-hungry fool, a misguided ritual, disaster. Generations of wardens passed down keys, not in bloodlines, but in wisdom. Only when meteors loomed or primal surges flickered would they resurface. This sealing wasn't the end of the cycle. Hoenn's lore hints at deeper truths. Those Titans didn't just shape one world, they've remade it countless times. Primal energies ebb and flow like seasons. Meteors crash like clockwork, forcing Rayquaza's hand again and again. The geography, Kanto's plateaus, Sinnoh's fjords, might trace back to their distant echoes. Imagine continents rising and sinking over millennia, oceans carving new paths, skies birthing guardians from necessity. Hoenn stands as the foundational myth, proof that balance is fragile, earned through sacrifice. But here's what grips you. These events weren't isolated. The orb's creation drew from meteor energy, the same that birthed the crisis. A paradox, right? Harnessing doom to avert it. And Rayquaza's role? In that final clash around 1,000 years ago, it mega-evolved for the first time in recorded lore. Scales shimmering with ozone power, halting the Titans mid-rampage. Sky Pillar's summit bears the scars, fused glass from its descent. You feel the awe, don't you? Humanity, puny against gods, tipping scales with ingenuity. Dive deeper into the rituals. Crafting the orbs involved shamans channeling through Waylord shells for the blue, Heatran-inspired forges for the red. Chants invoked Regirock, Regishay, Regis as stabilizers, binding Titan might to human will. Post-sealing, Hoenn's economy boomed on Titan-touched resources. Corals from Kyogre's basins fetched fortunes. Minerals from Groudon's veins built empires, yet humility reigned. Laws forbade deep earth digs near slumber sites. Trainers learned early, power unchecked devours. Fast forward through centuries. Sky Pillar weathered typhoons, earthquakes, but stood. Pilgrims climbed its 999 steps, symbolic of eternity, -1, lest hubris invite the end. At the top, visions came, dreams of Titan stirring, warnings encoded in wind. Rayquaza perched rarely, but when it did, eclipses followed, skies parting in reverence. This fragile piece defined Hoenn's soul, rebuilding etched legends into every facet, names like Groudon Ridge, Kyogre Trench immortalised. Children grew hearing ballads. Red fire tames the quake, blue wave stills the flood. Festivals reenacted the ceiling, with actors wielding orb replicas amid fireworks mimicking megablasts. And the orbs? Their hiding sparked quests, tales of thieves tempting fate only to be humbled, drowned by illusions or burned by guardians. One legend speaks of a king who unearthed both, only for Rayquaza to descend, shattering his throne. Lesson clear, safeguards for a reason. You sense it now, the tension beneath tranquility. Hoen rebuilt, yes, but on eggshells. One cosmic nudge and history repeats. This sealing of the Titans, pinnacle of resilience, blueprint for survival in a world of legends. Up next, in Echoes in Modern Hoenn, you'll uncover how these ancient slumbers ripple into the trainers, teams, and crises of today, threats that make you question if the Titans ever truly slept. Echoes in Modern Hoenn. In the bustling cities and wild expanses of modern Hoenn, the primal roars of Groudon and Kyogre have faded to whispers, but their echoes refuse to die. Today, two organizations rise from the shadows, driven by visions that mirror the cataclysms of old. Team Magma and Team Aqua. What if I told you their leaders aren't just power-hungry villains, but unwitting puppets replaying the ancient folly of the land and sea titans themselves, whirled through their eyes? Team Magma, clad in bold red uniforms, preaches a gospel of expansion. Their leader Maxi, a brilliant but obsessive scientist, believes humanity's future lies in more landmass, more room to grow. He dreams of awakening Groudon, the continent forger, to push back the seas and claim dominance over the earth. Doesn't that sound familiar? It's the same relentless drive that once split Hoenn's landscapes into jagged mountains and vast plains, only now channeled through human ambition. Maxi pores over ancient texts in his volcano hideout, crafting devices like the magma suit to withstand the heat of his god's rage. But here's the chilling part. He sees Groudon not as a destroyer, but as a saviour. You can almost hear the echo of that primal age when natural energy surged unchecked, fueling endless reshaping. Then there's Team Aqua, lurking in the depths with their sleek blue attire and submarine lairs. Archie, their charismatic captain, rallies his crew around the sea's supremacy. Ocean should swallow the land, he declares, flooding the world to birth a watery paradise for marine life and humanity alike. Kyogre is his key, the ocean filler whose downpours once drowned continents. Archie's plans involve the scanner, a tool to locate and rouse the slumbering Leviathan from its seabed tomb. Their clashes with Magma aren't random turf wars. They're microcosms of the Titan battles that scarred Hoenn millennia ago. Explosions in the skies over Rustbarrow, submarine skirmishes off Dewford's coast, stolen meteorites from Devon Corporation. Every raid, every scheme, unwittingly treads the path of Groudon and Kyogre's fury. You might wonder, how do these groups even get this far? The answer lies buried in Hoenn's soil and waves, remnants of those meteor fragments that first shattered the region. Long after the super-ancient showers carved meteor falls and pelted the skies, pieces linger. Shards pulse with otherworldly energy, hidden in caves, traded on black markets, or locked in corporate vaults. Devon scientists study them, unaware of the ticking bomb. Team Magma snatches a massive one from their grasp, embedding it into their activation machine. Team Aqua dives for underwater chunks, their glow illuminating forbidden depths. These aren't mere rocks, they're catalysts, infused with the same cosmic force that reawakened the Titans before. One wrong move, one surge of primal energy, and the slumber ends. Imagine the dread. A fragment cracks open in Slateport's harbour, and suddenly the sea boils. Kyogre stirs, or magma's volcano ritual ignites a shard, and the ground heaves as Groudon rises. But history doesn't repeat blindly. Rayquaza, ever the Sky Sentinel, watches from the ozone layer. Its interventions aren't one-offs, they're foreshadows of grander cycles. Remember the massive impact 1,000 years ago, cratering Sootopolis? Rayquaza mega-evolved then, halting the Titans mid-rampage. In modern times, echoes ripple through quieter moments. Trainers report emerald streaks across the heavens during magma and Aqua's peak conflicts, as if the dragon senses the imbalance brewing. At the sky pillar, weathered ruins hum with latent power, a silent warning etched by ancients who knew meteors would return. Red and blue orbs, forged from meteor essence and titan scales, pulse in hidden shrines, ready to calm the beasts if humans fail. Rayquaza doesn't always descend in glory. Sometimes it's a subtle nudge, a storm diverted, a fragment shattered mid-air. These acts hint at something bigger, not just Hoenn salvation, but a global rhythm where sky reigns in earth and sea over and over. What drives these teams deeper into folly? Maxi stands atop that chimney, monologuing about overpopulation, his glasses glinting with fanaticism. The land must expand or humanity perishes, he proclaims to his grunts, as Poochyena howl in agreement. Archie, meanwhile, toasts with his crew in their seafloor cavern, salt spray on his beard. The sea will cleanse the excess, he booms, eyes fixed on charts marking Kyogre's lair. Their admins fuel the fire, Courtney's eerie predictions for magma, Shelley's tidal strategies for aqua. They clash at Weather Institute, hijack the submarine, storm the Moss-Deep Space Center for orbital data on meteors. Each victory edges them closer to catastrophe. You feel the tension building, don't you? The player, thrust into this chaos, races between factions, uncovering their plans layer by layer. Yet the true horror unfolds at the endgame. Magma scales the skies to Pyre, embedding their meteor shard into a resurrection chamber. Groudon emerges, primal reversion kicking in, sunlight scorching the land as droughts spread. Aqua breaches the seafloor cavern, Kyogre floods valleys, hail pounding the earth. Hoenn fractures anew. Lily Cove's beaches vanish under waves, Lava Ridge bakes under solar flares. Cities evacuate, Pokémon flee in panic. The player wields the orbs, but it's Rayquaza who answers the call, coiling from the pillar in mega form, Delta Stream calming the frenzy. The Titans revert, subside, sealed once more. Maxi and Archie, humbled or shattered, slink away, their dreams drowned in reality. But pause here with me. Those meteor fragments, they didn't vanish. Scattered across Hoenn post-battle, they embed in soils, wash up on shores, even orbit in space thanks to failed rocket launches. Devon's research accelerates, probing their energy for renewable power. Trainers collect shards as rare items, unaware of the risk. What happens if another shower falls? Or a new cult rises? Rayquaza's interventions scream of cycles unbroken, patterns etched in the world's core. And now the twist that redefines everything you've heard so far. Hoenn's saga isn't isolated, it's the blueprint for every region in the Pokémon world. Groudon and Kyogre's clashes, echoed in Sinnoh's creation trio wars, Unova's land upheavals, Rayquaza's mediations, mirrored by Reshiram's truths, Zekrom's ideals balancing extremes. Those lingering fragments, seeds for Kalos flares, Alola's Tapus guarding against cosmic threats. Hoenn lays the foundation. Land and sea in eternal tension, sky as arbiter, meteors as reset buttons. Your Sinnoh mountains, Kanto coasts, Paldea plains, they're all iterations shaped by these forces across eons. One region's ancient past unlocks the planet's hidden architecture. Feel that shift? The lore tightens, pulling disparate threads into unity. You've journeyed through Hoenn's titans, their slumbers, their modern echoes, but what lies beyond? In the next chapter, Pokémon World's eternal cycle, we'll uncover how these patterns pulse across every corner of the globe, revealing cataclysms that dwarf Hoenn's and hint at threats still unfolding. You won't want to miss how it all connects. Let's dive deeper into the human element, because these aren't faceless villains. Maxi, with his calculated genius, once collaborated with Professor Cosmo on Meteor studies, twisting pure science into apocalypse. Archie, a former seafaring brute turned ideologue, bonds with his Sharpedo like kindred spirits of the deep. Their grunts, young idealists, lured by promises of a remade world. A magma recruit in Falabor Town whispers doubts to you, the player. Is more land really worth awakening that monster? An aqua diver off Pacifidlog shares tales of glowing shards pulling her under. These personal stakes make the folly intimate, tragic. Consider the locations transformed. Meteor Falls, once a primal scar, now hides aqua ambushes, its waterfalls thundering over fragment veins. Mintpire's spiral graves pulse red as magma rituals profane the dead. Sootopolis crater, site of Rayquaza's mega debut, braces for dual titan assaults, its gym leader Hoenn summoning Whiscash to hold the line. Even Roosturf Tunnel, that humble shortcut, becomes a fragment smuggling route. Machop grunts hauling illicit cargo. Rayquaza's foreshadowing grows poetic in hindsight. Pre-battle visions plague trainers, a green serpent silhouetted against meteor trails. Legends whisper of its ozone perch, judging humanity's hubris. One intervention stands out, a mid-game meteor diversion over Fortree City, averting disaster before the teams even unite their shards. It's as if the dragon anticipates, intervening in phases, subtle for humans, cataclysmic for titans. Those fragments demand scrutiny. Not all are benign souvenirs. The largest, stolen from Devon, shatters into sub-pieces post-climax, embedding in routes like 118's Bridges or Evergrande's Victory Road. Ultra Beasts in later games hint at meteor portals, fragments as wormhole keys. Hoenn's lore warns, energy lingers, reawakening imminent. The blueprint twist expands wildly. Kanto's seafoam islands, Kyogre echoes in Articuno's storms, Johto's tin tower, Rayquaza kin in Ho-Oh's rainbows. Even Gala's darkest day, with its meteor-rooted Eternatus, nods to Hoenn's showers. Every Elite Four, every champion, unknowingly guards Titan legacies. You're piecing it together now, aren't you? Modern Hoenn isn't aftermath, it's prelude. Teams dissolve, but ideologies simmer in cults, ready for the next meteor fall. Rayquaza patrols, orbs gleam, fragments wait, the cycle turns. And as we stand on this precipice, prepare yourself. In Pokémon World's eternal cycle, coming right up, these Hoenn echoes amplify into a planetary heartbeat, exposing how every region bends to the same ancient drum. The revelations will reshape your entire view of the Pokémon universe. Stay with me. To flesh this out further, let's revisit key player moments that hammer the echoes home. You infiltrate Magma's hideout under Mut Chimney, overhearing Maxi's debates on primal reversion, natural energy amplification, mirroring the age of legends. Steam vents hiss like Groudon's breath. Aqua's Lily Cove base, a labyrinth of tanks and maps, reveals shard trackers, pinpointing Kyogre's pulse. The tension peaks in dual awakenings, Groudon's solar beam vaporizing waves, Kyogre's origin pulse, submerging peaks. Balance teeters until Rayquaza's roar unites the chaos. Post-game, the threat lingers. Shard hunts in the battle frontier. Anomalous weather tied to fragments. birch warns of recurring celestial events. It's cyclical, inevitable. This blueprint pulses everywhere. Paldea's terrastol phenomenon, primal energy echoes, scarlet-violet stellar paradox, meteor migrants. Hoenn started it all. You felt the pull through every word. Now, the eternal cycle awaits. Pokémon World's eternal cycle. The ancient wars between Groudon and Kyogre didn't end with Hoenn's fragile balance. They echoed across the entire Pokémon world. Their colossal clashes literally forging the foundations of every continent, you know. Think about it. Those primal titans, surging with raw earth and sea power, didn't just reshape one region. Their battles sent shockwaves that cracked open new land masses, drowned old ones, and set the stage for everything from Kanto's rugged mountains to Sinnoh's icy tundras. You see, Hoenn's lore isn't some isolated legend. It's the blueprint, the origin story that hints at how the whole planet was born from destruction and renewal. Picture the scale of it. Groudon, the continent maker, erupting from the depths with sunlight blazing off its armoured hide, heaving up slabs of earth that would become coastlines and plateaus. Kyogre counters, flooding. Those newborn lands with abyssal waters, carving basins that hold today's vast oceans. Each strike, each primal roar, wasn't random violence, it was creation through cataclysm. Historians in the Pokémon world whisper that these wars happened not once, but in cycles, long before humans charted the stars. Evidence hides in the geology itself, jagged fault lines in Unova mirroring Hoenn's scars, anomalous seabeds off Johto that match Kyogre's fury. What if every island chain, every mountain range, bears the fingerprint of these titans? Doesn't that make you wonder how stable the ground beneath your feet really is? But Rayquaza, the Sky Sentinel, wasn't content to watch Hoenn alone. Its vigilance stretches far beyond those familiar skies, patrolling the ozone layer like an eternal guardian. Legends from distant regions speak of it intervening in other crises, streaking across Paldea's horizons to quell storms that threaten to swallow cities, or hovering over Galar's wild areas during unexplained quakes. Why? Because Rayquaza embodies the delicate equilibrium. When Groudon and Kyogre slumber, it ensures no other forces tip the scales. Its delta stream, that high-altitude current, gives it eyes on the entire globe. You can almost feel it up there now, coiled in the stratosphere, sensing disturbances from Alola's volcanoes to Kalos's fractured caves. Hoenn built the sky pillar as a beacon, but Rayquaza's watch is planetary, a silent promise that balance will hold, until it can't. Now, here's where the cycle turns ominous. Those wars weren't the end, they were just one loop in an eternal pattern. Meteors and primal surges loom as the next harbingers of cataclysm. Remember Meteor falls in Hoenn? That wasn't a fluke. Ancient showers of cosmic debris pounded the region eons ago, slamming into the earth with energy so potent it pierced the veil of slumber, rousing Groudon and Kyogre once more. Rayquaza dove in, halting the rampage, but the pattern repeats. About 1,000 years back, a massive meteor carved out Sootopolis city's crater, its impact unleashing waves of primal energy that flooded the Titans with power beyond imagination. Groudon burst forth, drying seas to dust. Kyogre rose, submerging lands in endless torrents. The clash threatened to unravel the world entire. In that dire hour, Rayquaza achieved something unprecedented, the world's first mega-evolution. Fueled by the meteor's otherworldly essence, it transformed into Mega Rayquaza, a draconic force of pure sky dominance. With Delta Stream bending the atmosphere to its will, it pacified the Titans, forcing them back into dormancy. Humans, awestruck, forged the red and blue orbs as eternal safeguards, channeling solar and oceanic energies to keep the beasts in check. They erected the sky pillar not just for homage, but as a warning tower, etched with meteor trajectories and primal runes, urging vigilance against the stars. You might think that's history sealed away, but dig deeper into the lore and you'll uncover how this Hoenn saga underpins the Pokémon world's grand mythos. The red and blue orbs? Echoes appear in artifacts across regions, crimson gems in Kanto's depths, azure relics off Johto's shores. Sky pillars? Subtle counterparts rise in Sinnoh's heights and Unova's ruins, all aligned to celestial paths. It's as if Hoenn's cataclysms seeded the legends everywhere, teaching that land, sea and sky must harmonize or perish. Groudon's earth-shaping mirrored the primal forces that birthed Sinnoh's spear pillar. Kyogre's floods, akin to the deluges that sculpted Aura's deserts. Even Rayquaza's interventions parallel guardian dragons in other lands, like Latios and Latias over Hoenn's own skies, or Reshiram and Zekrum's ideological wars in Unova. What grips me most, though, is the implication of endless cycles. These titans don't destroy for spite, they embody nature's relentless drive to remake itself. Primal surges, those bursts of ancient energy from the planet's core, reawaken them periodically, amplifying their might to godlike levels. In the primal age, natural energy flowed so abundantly that Groudon could summon magma oceans, Kyogre eternal monsoons. Today's world? It's just a calm between surges, continents stabilized after their last forging. But meteors keep falling. Deoxys, the DNA Pokémon born from space rocks, drifts as a reminder, its alien form pulsing with the same disruptive power. And those showers aren't random, they're tied to cosmic rhythms, pulling in debris that ignites primal reversion everywhere. Consider the evidence stacking up. Fossil records in Kalos show land bridges vanishing overnight, matching Kyogre's surges. Unova's twisted trees and warped caves scream Groudon's tectonic fury. Even Alola's Tapus, guardians of islands, seem like diminished echoes of the Titans, channeling island-chaining energies that hint at older, vaster wars. Rayquaza's extended watch explains it all. It's quelled these global ripples time and again, descending only when the balance fractures. But how long can one dragon hold back the stars? Primal surges grow stronger with each meteor influx, promising cataclysms that could redraft every map. You feel that chill, don't you? The Pokémon world isn't static. It's a living canvas, perpetually overwritten. Hoenn's story reveals the truth. Our current geography, Kanto's volcanoes, Johto's lakes, every coastline and peak, is merely one iteration in an endless reshaping. Titans' wars laid the bedrock of continents, but meteors and surges ensure nothing lasts forever. What rises must fall, what drowns will dry, and Rayquaza circles above, buying time. Yet the sky pillar's warnings endure. Prepare for the next fall. The red orb glows faintly in Seamovil's vaults. The blue orb pulses in Mampire's shadows, ready for the day the cycle spins again. This eternal rhythm explains so much. Why do legendaries clash across regions? Why do ancient ruins align with meteor paths? It's all part of the grand churn. In Galar, Eternatus's dark energy mimics primal surges, threatening Dynamax wilds like titanic rebirths. Paldea's terrestrial phenomenon? Perhaps crystallized meteor shards, unlocking hidden potentials tied to those cosmic impacts. Even Hisui, ancient Sinnoh, tells of space-time rifts birthing new legends, fractures from titan battles reverberating through eras. You start connecting the dots, and the world feels alive, breathing with potential apocalypse. But here's the revelation that ties it together. We're living in the aftermath of the last great cycle, oblivious to how fragile it all is. Groudon and Kyogre sleep beneath Hoenn, but their influence pulses globally, in every earthquake and tidal wave. Rayquaza's gaze pierces every sky, from Hoenn's ozone to Or's endless plains. Meteors promise the spark, primal surges the inferno. Future cataclysms aren't if, but when, reshaping continents anew, birthing fresh lands from the ashes of old. Does that unsettle you? It should, because it means the Pokémon world you cherish is but a fleeting sketch in an infinite gallery. Titans forged its bones, meteors will shatter them, and the cycle endures. Rayquaza watches, but even skies can darken. As the stars wheel overhead, listen closely. The earth rumbles faintly, seas whisper of depths rising, and the cycle prepares to turn once more. And in that turning, we've uncovered Hoenn's ultimate secret. Not just a region's rebirth, but the blueprint for a world's eternal dance with destruction. What does this mean for trainers everywhere? That balance is our duty now. Safeguarding orbs, honouring pillars, heeding the skies. The final truth settles like dusk over the horizon. Your adventure unfolds on borrowed time, in a world forever remade. Rest easy knowing the law, but wake ready, for the cycle never sleeps. If this story resonated with you, there's so much more to explore. Tap the Pokémon playlist to continue the adventure, and save it so you'll always have something soothing to fall asleep to, or choose the recommended video for another deep dive.